My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. P.O.C. This unity that is ongoing stalking at the Ontario Times Square. It is currently 12:44 a.m. where the entity is flying in circles over me, flying over the top of my head while I'm at the Ovid Family Community Library, which is right over here. The entity is engaging what is stalking me with utilizing the people sending text messages to my phone and then gang stalking me by helicopter, well, then that's good evidence to have you federally prosecuted, conspiring with the military. That's providing evidence against you that you are a third-party gang stalker. And the entity's doing so at 12:45 a.m. at the Ontario Town Square, where the entity is maintaining the ongoing pattern of conduct. This is the entity that's engaging with a stalking by helicopter while I'm outside at the Ontario Town Square, where the people of the state have been engaging in the pattern of conduct. Stalking by helicopter is just evidence which is relevant to the hallmark. Prosecuting everyone else to a degree of certainty regarding everything else that I already documented. And then the entity underscores it by stalking by helicopter, the hallmark. Doing so at 12:45 a.m. at the Ontario Town Square. This is P.O.C. The entity is stalking me by helicopter at the Upland Public Library. The entity is stalking me by helicopter at the Ovid Family Community Library, and conspicuous stalking while it's criminal monitoring. There is a crime committed while the entity is stalking in a helicopter, stalking in any manner, and it's also the entity that is monitoring while stalking in helicopters. This is the entity that's being federally prosecuted, and they are being properly diagnosed at the same time. This is P.O.C. at the Ontario Town Square. It's 12:46 a.m. This is P.O.C. You're looking at the entity that is stalking. That is Southwest Airlines as well. The entity that is stalking is flying over the Mule Car Smokehouse while I'm at that site. The entity is literally following me, just like I documented in video yesterday. As I'm walking north up the street, I literally documented evidence of commercial airline planes, which is the government, stalking me in planes. As I travel north, so did the plane activity. And this is CMAX, that's engaging in what is criminal facilitation as a corporate entity. This is a terrorist that's engaging in what is massive facilitation, psychopathic pacing with light activity. And CMAX is criminally monitoring what is being uploaded on the internet right now. So this is literally affecting the access to the internet, the speed with which my evidence is uploading. And CMAX is acting in concert with the entity that is not taking off, that is physically stalking and is monitoring. As you see, the location where the planes are at the Ontario Town Square, it's based on monitoring. This exceeds stalking. Okay? The entity is maintaining placement and plane activity based on what part of the town square I'm located. So when I'm over here by the farthest part of the amphitheater, that's when you do see them flying circles around Metro 102 apartments. That's when you see them flying over the Mule Car Smokehouse. This is when you see them engaging in what is U-turns around B Street and Euclid Avenue, this corner over here. When I'm near this wall, very heavily documented history that I have here. And when I'm nearest this clock, you see the entity engaging in a different pattern. They're engaging in what is doing U-turns when they're seeking to avoid being documented, which they're not. You can name all type of ridiculous things that the entity cannot avoid. You're not contradicting the pattern of conduct. You're stalking even when you do U-turn. You're stalking when you fly west. You're stalking when you fly east. Obviously, stalking is not based on the direction that you're going when you're stalking. You are following me, and you're going in the direction east while you are following. The entity is monitoring. So physical placement, relevant positioning to me is how you're identifying criminal monitoring amongst one that is stalking and doing so. And the entity is monitoring evidence that's being uploaded right now. It's 5:53 a.m. at the Ontario Town Square. That is CMAX. That is gang stalking. CMAX is gang stalking Metro 102, John Stewart Companies, Sarah's Regis Group, Ovid Family Community Library, Ontario Town Square, Wells Fargo. The people of the state that are pacing up and down Euclid Avenue, they're all monitoring what's on my phone right now. And the entity is doing so as the criminal pattern of conduct. Okay, this is P.O.C. You want to hear the amplified audible activity right now, because that's the same criminal pattern that all the third parties I just know engaging in. This is amplified audible activity by stalkers. This is what Southwest Airlines is committing. It's the same criminal pattern of conduct, regardless of what size of the plane it is. This is the entity that cannot contradict or get out of the P.O.C, nor are they interested in. They're obsessed with my vagina. They're obsessively stalking. And this is what the entity is doing, flying over the top of my head at reliable properties yesterday when I'm walking north on Euclid Avenue, where this entity is on video, again, stalking using commercial planes. And that's the entity that's going to be shut down. Securitas just walked into the lens, so you need to see Securitas is gang stalking. Alrighty, and that is again the third party that's engaging in criminal summoning, as I documented the other day. Upon arrival, the entities stalking with plain activity, acting in sync with one another, group conduct, demonic activity, criminal monitoring while you are stalking as a quote unquote security guard at the facilitating venue. You do not have any constitutionally protected placement to engage in criminal monitoring with the government that's conspiring murder. It's accomplishing the conspiracy to murder. You are stalking, you are gang stalking, and you will be prosecuted as a terrorist that is acting maliciously. They're not acting ignorantly in this environment amongst this activity. This is P.O.C. It is currently, like I stated, 5:55 a.m. at the Ontario Town Square. Okay, this is monitoring. This is stalking, but it's exceeding stalking. This is monitoring. The entity is stalking in planes, and the position where the planes are going as they're stalking, in other words, is relevant to where I'm positioned. It's called relevant positioning, and this is what the demon-possessed are doing as they are monitoring you. They are in your path. Okay, this is what they're doing while they are conspicuously monitoring you, by the way. While they are inconspicuously monitoring, you're being monitored by people that are in other states. You're being monitored by people that are in other countries. You're being monitored by people that are in other cities. Okay, you're being monitored by network. You're under surveillance by communication devices that are not physically near you. The entity that is gang stalking you, that is monitoring you, doing so in relevant position within the zone of relevant positioning, they are doing so relevant to where you are physically located. Okay, that's why they're no longer flying over the square. That's why they're walking through the civic center area in the face of the evidence to go to prison, to be prosecuted, to be deported, all the things that are happening for terrorists, because it's relevant positioning. The entities make, that's why a fake sun and a fake moon is here. So being employed here just means you're going to be unemployed. In that department, whatever you employ, there's a gang stalker as well. This is P.O.C. This is called impunity, not private speech, not minding your business, gang stalking. And the government provides evidence directly to that. Legal conclusion. Okay, this is P.O.C. That's what monitoring is. Making a U-turn over the parking lot, driving into that parking lot, stalking with light. Doing so, this is the parking lot, the venue where the fake sun is rising and setting. And those are stalkers in planes. Okay, this is the P.O.C. No longer flying over a mule cart smokehouse. Okay, that this is relevant positioning. And they're all monitoring together. And this is mentally ill behavior because together they're doing this, pacing all around me. This is P.O.C. This is Southwest Airlines. That's again, Southwest Airlines is flying north now, north this way, closer to me, because I'm not at the Ontario Town Square, which is moving to the direction south. Crossing path, pacing together. Psychopaths that are demon-possessed. And this is the entity that is engaging in that. Is the apartments. This is a prosecution of the corporation, so the legal fiction itself. Jon Stewart is being prosecuted. While the people of the state are in relevant position, people like Janice Gann, who send me text messages on my phone, while the military is conspiring with her to engage in psychological torture and criminal stalking. When you are stalking with the government, you're stalking with the government in furtherance of murder. And Janice Gann, who is on my communication device, very foolishly engaging in documented federal stalking with the entity that is simultaneously stalking by helicopter, which she is stalking, gang stalking as an entity via helicopter. This is what I documented at 8:37 p.m. last night. And then the entity is again at 12:44 a.m., which Janice Gann is also engaging in what is gang stalking by helicopter, because you're not removed from that evidence. You don't gang stalk for one day and then you're not engaging in it anymore. And Janice Gann will be dealt with under federal law while the government continuously testifies against her, and the totality of facts against her are going to be relevant to how she is prosecuted as an entity. And as that entity's criminal pattern of conduct which she is engaged in, she will be responsible for under her name. P.O.C. This is Jon Stewart Company where the entity is gang stalking. The Ontario City Hall. Gang stalking is University of Laverne College of Law. MIG Real Estate, Metro 102 Apartments, GL Partners, Ontario Town Square Townhomes, Saris Regis Group. None of this is anything that would have plain activity, but for relevant positioning. This is an entity that is criminally monitoring in furtherance of murder. And these corporations are going to be prosecuted for that. This is where the entity was stalking by helicopter as well, which is also how you know you're not just walking to work. P.O.C. And whatever you call yourself, you're doing it while you're exhibiting mental illness. This is psychopathic pacing. This is psychopathic pacing, and as you can clearly see, the entity is not engaging in anything that you cannot recognize or see. You can't gang stalk someone conspicuously and them not be aware of it. All right, the entity is engaging in this while they thought that they were intelligent or thought that they were magical or even thought that they could engage in things such as violating people and that they would be too intimidated or fearful or confused or something. But there's nothing confusing about it. The only thing that's confusing is how the entity is engaging in this conduct and that you're not going to avoid being put in a mental institution. That's what's confusing. That's the only thing. But really, it's not confusing because these are demons. So while you call yourself walking to work, the entity is engaged in psychopathic pacing, which you are simultaneously accomplishing criminal activity. It is public corruption. And those are the ones that are going to prison. This is the P.O.C. Alrighty, this is what Mule Cart Smokehouse is engaging in, flying over the barbecue place. This is why they can't season any ribs. They're not engaged in cooking. They're not even engaged in minding their business and having a good time at a club. They're monitoring me, and that's Alaska Airlines. This is P.O.C. It is 6:08 a.m. The entity is engaging in this while Ontario International Airport maintains information pertaining to flights that are departing, flights that are in progress, flights that are scheduled. And that is not what this is. This is evidence of stalking by an airport and by airline companies. These airline companies represent the corporation, the corporate entity that is gang stalking. And the entity is engaging in this while it is on video so that there is no question, there is no controversy, there is no reasonable basis for any confusion. There is no mystery. There is, this is the investigation, the proof, the documentation, the evidence in real time of commercial airline companies engaging in the unthinkable, but that which is proven, which is giving context regarding what else these airline companies are engaged in across the globe and what they are inevitably shown to be engaged in, which is a threat to national security in the United States. At 6:15 a.m., it's currently 6:09 a.m. The entity is engaging what is psychopathic pacing, however, with plane after plane after plane by second. And it is a judicially noticed fact that none of these planes have conducted a takeoff while they have flown over 4 miles northwest, while then over the Civic Center, they fly a straight line over the Civic Center. You're not flying a straight line from the airport, and you certainly have not conducted a takeoff over 4 miles northwest from the airport to be hovering over the Senior Center and John Stewart Company. This is where that entity is gang stalking. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is gang stalking by Securitas. It's gang stalking by all the apartment complexes. Gang stalking by this little Mickey Mouse law school. The entity's engaged in this at the Ontario City Hall, and this is already proven. This is why the fake sun rises and sets here as well. This is P.O.C. That is audible activity, and this is light activity, as the entity is cooperatively engaged in that. And this is the one that's engaged in stalking me conspicuously with helicopter, just like Janice Gann, who resides inside of John Stewart Company Apartments. Doing so while you are not engaged in security, you're engaged in gang stalking. All right, criminal elements of monitoring. You're not engaged in street sweeping. CMAX is engaged in light activity, gang stalking. While the government is literally engaged in stalking in commercial airline planes, which is also verifiable by literally what the Ontario International Airport admits to engaging in, which has nothing to do with these flights regarding relevant positioning, stalking in the path, and that which is deviating from the operations of the airport in Ontario. And it certainly isn't associated with San Bernardino International, Cable Airport in Upland, Chino's Airport, Los Angeles International Airport. The entity is engaged in gang stalking, which is why you have, by the way, Southwest Airlines doing U-turns in the middle of the Civic Center. They're stalking. That's it. And so is this. All right, this is the P.O.C. That's okay because she's not going to have a job. She's not even going to be able to walk around free gang stalking people. She's going to prison. This is Securitas, and Securitas employees are documented as a matter of history gang stalking and kidnapping and engaging in criminal summoning, and they are going to prison for it. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:11 a.m. Okay, this is relevant to Securitas that is stalking along with the government that's using commercial airline planes. Okay, this is called light activity, and she's mentally ill. She's been engaged in stalking me and stalking with light for a very long time. And this is the one that I refer to as the mop head. This is the demon that's engaged in stalking me conspicuously with helicopter. Okay, just like her co-defendant that resides inside of this apartment complex, Janice Gann, sending me a text message while you're stalking with the government that's using helicopters. Psychopaths that derive pleasure out of and regularly engage in psychological torture. They are mentally ill. This population is being diagnosed. There are no planes scheduled right now, and there are no planes taking off from the airport conducting what is ongoing cycles making U-turns around the venue. That's the entity that's stalking, and so are the demons that are stalking with light activity. This is criminal, and it's also conspicuous, and these terms are going to be used to prosecute her and prosecute Securitas. The entities engaged in this while they are surrounding with light activity, as I've taken pictures of, the entities surrounded with light activity at both corners, and this is psychopathic pacing. That's why the entity is following going north up Euclid Avenue. When you see me walking yesterday morning, the entity follows with the plane activity, which is psychotic. This is the P.O.C. The entity is engaged in stalking, and this is that which the Ontario Board, the Ontario Airport Authority, the FAA, are being held liable for. This is Delta Airlines. Is currently, by the way, 6:27, no scheduled plane, no airport right now, no departures scheduled right now, and there are no departures that hover over the John Stewart companies, or over the, also the John Stewart Company Emporia Place Apartments on Hope Boulevard. There are no scheduled flights that hover over that either, which is what Delta Airlines is engaged in as well. The airline industry that is stalking me when I'm on Hope Boulevard. The entity is engaging in this while this is called stalking in the path. This is what this demon was doing while she wants to appear as she's digging. The demons that are stalking, they think that it matters that they look like they're doing something. They look like they're stalking. That's what it looks like. We're looking at you stalking, gang stalking, while the government is clearly stalking as well. This is the entity, and this is you, Securitas. You do not have a defense. I'm prosecuting you, and I'm prosecuting your gang stalking employees, which is you. This is a third-party agency, and you are a third-party agent of the government that is gang stalking by planes, where you are employing those that are engaging in domestic terrorism. You are fully liable. And so is the mayor. The mayor's gang stalking while the government, the military, are flying over that city hall. No flights are hovering over. There are no scheduled flights. And what is doing U-turns over the city hall? That is direct indication that the gang stalker is the mayor. P.O.C. His name is Paul Leon. He's being federally prosecuted. He's being federally prosecuted by virtue of what's going on in the city of Ontario and by the conspicuous admission to being a terrorist. This ongoing chaos, this ongoing harassment, this ongoing targeting, stalking me and literally engaging in this, and doing so through a whole environment that is also present at the Ontario City Hall. The demons are monitoring my vagina at the City Hall. They're stalking in the bathroom to monitor my vagina at the City Hall. They're stalking with light activity at the City Hall. They're stalking under a fake sun. And the military are flying over the top of my head by planes and stalking by helicopters at the City Hall. That's being federally prosecuted. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that feels free to engage in criminal activity right outside of the doors of the so-called City Hall, which is speaking to the criminal that is that City Hall, that municipality. This is light activity. This is criminal aid, criminal facilitation. This is Mule Cart Smokehouse that's leaving the music blasting while the government flies over that barbecue smokehouse. Criminal facilitation, you are gang stalking and furtherance of murdering somebody. And corporations are being prosecuted for that. Okay, this is the P.O.C. and this is impunity. This impunity in levying war, you need to understand and do your research about what government regimes do to those that levy war against them and how that's responded. This is domestic terrorism, and it's being federally responded to by first proving that it's ongoing. This is what this is, and there's a federal response. And nobody's gonna care about you crying or pleading and begging and giving your story, because the inspiring murder and doing so with malice and doing so with impunity. That's what he shows. That's what the ongoing presence reveals. That's what the stalking with the U-turns and the dips and the hovering over. This is the entity that's engaging in warfare. And this is what they do to American citizens that don't have a voice. They derive pleasure out of stalking you and harassing you and threatening you while you are enforcing your rights, which is what I'm representing. I'm no small representation of any. I'm prosecuting you. And they're doing it to me while I am prosecuting them. Understand what's going to happen while you are levying war in the United States. You are levying war. There is a federal response. And you're not going to stay in office. You're not staying in this country if you're granted a privilege to be here. You're not going to remain a citizen that does not have the mark of being a domestic terrorist. You will not be receiving any government assistance. You will never get a job outside of admitting that you're a terrorist. And I guarantee you companies will not hire you because you are a liability. You're a liability. I'll prosecute you and that corporation. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:31 a.m. Psychopathic pacing, and the entity's doing so, like I stated, it has nothing to do with what the Ontario International Airport is publishing regarding flights. Flights that are departing from the airport are not hovering over the housing community and then over the Ontario Fire Department and the Ontario City Hall and the Senior Center. They're not doing U-turns over here, and they're not doing it by themselves. The people of the state are stalking on Euclid Avenue. They're stalking while you see the indicator of what is engineer light. They are stalking in the, she's going to be committed stalking with light is certifiable behavior, and she's engaging in this as an ongoing pattern. Okay, the mop head is very much hostile. Hostility is also analyzed and identified through the ongoing maintenance of that light activity. Where the government is stalking you, the government shall stop stalking you when you are providing tangible evidence. The government has engaged in ongoing levying war, which is also documented while you're doing U-turns and hovering and going out of your way stalking, following me up North Euclid Avenue, as I'm documenting yesterday, as the entity is stalking me by helicopter. This is all manner of the government speaking to the intent to engage in murder, the intent to engage in what is stalking and harassing and violating your privacy. Engage in genitalia surveillance is clearly indicated while you are stalking with light, while you are stalking with planes and helicopters, using an airport to maintain surveillance as a public entity. All of this is relevant to what the federal government's going to respond to. None of them are free to be here. You're not free to be in this apartment complex. You're not free to maintain a business. You're not free to go to the city hall. This is surveillance and it's public corruption. And so now everybody is subject to what is a federal prosecution. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:32 a.m. This is called stalking with light. She's driving an impossible light and she's creating light activity. She is facilitating criminal monitoring, which is accomplished while you're engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring. Being present is a violation of federal law pursuant to monitoring that is committed by the government, the U.S. government. So this is why the entity that's engaging in criminal monitoring is easily engaged in public corruption. While you live in the environment where all you're doing is being present and you are automatically creating activity, the entity is engaging in facilitation inconspicuously. This is a demon that's stalking in the path, and you see the significance of what she's doing. It's where the fake sun rises, which this is also where the fake sun sets. In fact, the day before yesterday, before I went to Upland and the entity engaged in a whole departure from what was documented, there's no mystery here. The entity is stalking by planes. They're stalking me in an environment that is absurd because the fake sun was still over me as I captured it during the 8 a.m. hour, where Securitas is gang stalking with light as well, and engaging in what is stalking in the same manner that the demons, she's a demon, she's representing a corporation that's a terrorist under the law, she's stalking with light. This is revealed as what they're all doing in the environment under a fake sun, where you're looking at light manifesting in impossible manners. Where is this light coming from? Because it's not even sunlight. The fake sun is on the opposite side. It's appearing underneath a covered structure while the entity is maintaining this light activity. And remember yesterday, where the entity is stalking with light, they are following with light. So when I lead them astray, where there cannot possibly be another sun, that's where you have the entity stalking. Impossible lights moving across. She is very much a demon. She's going to be committed. She's also stalking me by helicopter. You see my shadow? She's going to be committed. This is P.O.C. This is impunity. In furtherance of murdering an American citizen, Securitas, you're being prosecuted for that. Impossible light activities moving across the top of this building, that's not the product of driving even under the fake sun. That's what you see at Upland Unified School District. Those demons that are stalking under a fake sun, that's remaining over me on the same street, that remains over me on the same street in the evening. In fact, it sets here. That's why it was here on what was Sunday, while I was standing in front of the same apartment complex, Sarah's Regis Group, that's gang stalking. All right, this is P.O.C. Just want to capture, this is where UPS and the Southwest Airlines and these gang stalking demons that are the military, the police that are getting on board these planes, stalking with the demons that are surrounding on the ground in the environment, supplementing light activity while they're like nothing is happening, the impossible light activity, while they're like nothing is happening, the fake sun, while they're like nothing is happening, the entity stalking by commercial planes, while they're like nothing is happening, stalking with impossible light. This is a demon, and impossible light appears on the sidewalk behind him. He's a demon. These are demons. Okay, the demons are getting committed. And what she's doing now, what Securitas is doing, is called psychopathic pacing. And they are monitoring literally on the internet. They're engaged in federal stalking. I'm uploading videos documented regarding stalking me yesterday, August 24, 2026. This is the evidence that's going to prosecute everybody. This is the evidence. This is how you're prosecuting identifying stalking, in addition to the physical acts of stalking, which I'm capturing the airlines and the entity using helicopters and the placement of establishments, because you will be prosecuted for stalking as a business, as a corporation, in the environment, which is maintained while you're monitoring. Nobody is stupid, and the psychopathic ways you're engaging in monitoring, in ways you thought that no one was ever going to know, not only do they know, but there will be a legal theory to prosecute you and hold you accountable under the law for that which you are engaging in, and it is threatening the lives of American citizens. In fact, it's conspiracy to murder while you make money. This is John Stewart Company I'm prosecuting. They're gang stalking residents. They're gang stalking employees. The gang stalkers themselves flying over and maintaining light all over the apartment building. These gang stalking geezers are monitoring and harassing me while they're monitoring me. This is the P.O.C. You absolutely being prosecuted. They're monitoring while they're pacing around outside, stalking and they're pacing on foot. They're pacing in golf carts. They're pacing by vehicles. They're pacing by aircraft. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:53 a.m. What the entity is monitoring. Let me show you. Southwest Airlines again. Alaska Airlines moments earlier. UPS, all the airlines that are stalking with John Stewart Company. That's the apartment building that Southwest is hovering over. And they're doing so, of course, with the City of Ontario that turns the sprinklers on. This is activity creation, meaning noise, while the demon-possessed are not only pacing in the sky space where Southwest Airlines has no scheduled flights and no scheduled flight from the Ontario International Airport is engaging in the act of hovering over the private residences and also over here miles away northwest from the Ontario International Airport. This is the entity that is monitoring what I'm uploading online. So this is, as I upload, the entity resumes and increases in the frequency of the psychopathic pacing on foot. As you see the gang stalking demon using the golf cart and that impossible light activity, that's a direct indicator, medical professionals, to mental illness. The malicious psychopathic disorder that the entity seeks to conceal as a population that are all sharing in the criminal conspiracy together. And that same population seeks to criminally defame the perfectly sane targeted individual. This is a practice while the entities engage in the psychopathic conduct of stalking in commercial airline planes, like what Southwest Airlines is doing. Southwest Airlines is doing so. This is federal stalking. Southwest Airlines is doing so. The current time being 7:31 a.m. Southwest Airlines is doing so while you can see those flights. None of which are scheduled. You have the next flight, which would be, this is likely Southwest Airlines going to, yeah, that's Southwest at 7:45 a.m. And Southwest Airlines, a flight to Las Vegas is not going to be flying west in the direction, if you're aware, if you've ever driven to Las Vegas from California, you're not even flying in that direction. Nonetheless, there are no flights departing from the airport that are hovering over here. This is already an established fact. In fact, it's a judicially noticed fact. What I'm documenting is the entity gang stalking, doing so through the airlines that are maintaining ongoing flights, okay? They're doing so where the fake sun is present. This is called activity creation, all right? And these are demons that are existing, monitoring while they are seeking to appear, not only, number one, remember, they're not humans. These are demon-possessed people. These are creatures, and they're engaging in their purposes, their focuses, their objective is to maintain an environment. And the entity thought that demons thought that they could do so, that they could do this to you and you would never notice, okay? The fake sun is here 12 hours, 11 hours later, which is the evidence. For example, Mickey, that's going to prison, that works inside of the Open Family Community Library. I have this psychopath, this vagina monitor. She's a sex offender. She's a co-conspirator of my murder and engaged in criminally defaming my character and kidnapping me, and more than one occasion. And the entities has this fake sun aimed through the entrance doors of this venue after 5 o'clock in the evening. So that is, the fake sun is at the tail end of the library, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 hours later, the fake sun is aimed into the entrance, and Mickey, that's in the back of this same library, is walking on the engineer light, just like they're walking on the engineer light now. They're doing so on behalf of the entity that's flying over the top of my head, just like they did at Reliable Properties. And this is that psychopathic disorder coming out so you can see the evidence of mental illness. The more hostile, all right, it's directly commensurate with my analysis. Mickey is a psychopath. She's a sex offender. She's going to prison. She's likened to those that eat their own feces. Okay, she's a demon, and the reason why she hates me is not because she knows me. It's not because I stole her husband. It's not because I did something violent to her children. In fact, she's the one that's engaging in violence, and she does so as an entity that's engaged in criminal summoning, like the entity that's stalking me where she works. And I'm prosecuting Mickey 24 hours a day while she's gang stalking me 24 hours a day. And Mickey is already convicted as a matter of law, by the way. Mickey is engaging in what is ongoing acts of criminal monitoring while the fake sun is here 10 hours later. And you know what else doesn't change with regard to psychopaths that can't control themselves? Those facts still remain. That video is still present. You can look it up online right now. It's a screen recording, and Mickey is being diagnosed by her psychopathic conduct while she is silent, while she's conducting herself like she's working at work, focused on working. Nobody's focused on working. These are demons that are monitoring as a society. This is the only purpose. This is why you're working under a fake sun. And this is why the employees at this venue are gang stalking, and they're being prosecuted with the demons that fly over my head and keep a fake sun for all of the duration of the day at the Upland Public Library, where even yesterday they're stalking me by helicopter in the morning. And as I return to where Mickey works, I'm being gang stalked by helicopter at night. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and flying over the top of my head is a concession. It's an admission, and it's also an outward demonstration of mental illness. All right, this is the P.O.C. The entity has the fake sun here, and this is what the entity was doing, stalking by commercial planes, and that is testimony against Alaska Airlines that has no business flying over John Stewart Company apartments, and they're doing so in the crime scene. This is impossible light activity. That's not sunlight. Alaska Airlines is a stalker. Corporations that are stalking you are terrorists. The terrorists are violent sex offenders. Okay, and Alaska Airlines is acting in conformity to a pattern of conduct where you see the entity flying over the top of my head. Alaska Airlines is fully engaged in that criminal pattern of conduct and has been engaged in this. The entity is gang stalking through the commercial planes that are maintaining psychopathic pacing, as are the people of the state maintaining psychopathic pacing, and they're doing so as demons in the environment for their gang stalking purposes. That's why it's here. If there was no gang stalking by the government that's clearly targeting you, flying over the top of my head, in case you did not know, that's indicative of something that is giving a probable cause to investigate. This is a pattern. So you are engaged in targeting. Your pattern is fully documented. You're doing it in an environment that is conducive to that surveillance. Everybody has witnessed and has realized and understands that pattern that's occurring in that environment. And that environment, in fact, is a part of that pattern. The entities engaged in this while I document them, that is, while demons are discerned, studying their devices, which they're monitoring us on, and engaging in what is stalking you while they're monitoring. This is stalking. They're not free to engage in any of this. They're walking in the engineer light. They're doing so with the government that's stalking in planes. Southwest Airlines is a state actor, not a private company. Southwest Airlines is a terrorist, and this is what the entity has been doing while they've been monitoring what I'm uploading on the internet, and the entity's doing so while they are following me around, okay? Following me around and engaging in this type of conduct, such as stalking with impossible light. Let me show you this with regard to those that are going to be committed. Let's take a look at this.
She's going to be committed. Where there cannot possibly be another sun, that's where you have the entity stalking. Impossible lights moving across, she is very much a demon.
Let me go ahead and rewind that again, because the demon that just flew over the top of my head by that plane, that's the military. They are psychopathic. These are serial killers. Serial killers, in case you did not know. Those that are mentally ill, in case you did not know. Demons, in case you did not know. They join law enforcement. They join the military. They go into kindergarten, they go to be kindergarten teachers that are engaging in sex with children. They that are engaging in the exact opposite of what is the job or the industry that they go into. This is what the demons do. To engage in psychological torture, they go into the medical field where they're supposed to be doing no harm. To those that are engaging in a criminal lifestyle, criminal activity, they go into law enforcement to get away with it, to facilitate it. This is what the Nephilim, the demon-possessed, are doing. This is what the city of Ontario is engaging in. This is that P.O.C. And this is an entity that's engaging in not security, all right, but violating my rights to be free from harassment and psychological torture, including while your mental illness is manifest outside for me to document and to have you committed. Because your mental illness, while you target me, is the basis to have you committed. All right, it's a threat to my well-being, including with the government that is stalking me in concert with you by commercial airline planes, which you do in my face, while you are conspiring my murder, defaming my character, stealing from me in order to oppress me and have me outside, which is also the ability for me to prosecute you outside as demons who are going to be committed and subject to martial law. I want you to pay attention to this light activity. It's going to be moving across this brick wall at the upper portion. This is impossible light activity.
Where there cannot possibly be another sun, that's where you have the entity stalking. Impossible lights moving across, she is very...
I want you to see that one more time. This is mental illness. Mental illness is that which is invisible, all right? But mental illness by the demon-possessed that are gang stalked. Gang stalking is the product of mental illness, meaning the demon-possessed who are mentally ill, they have an unnatural, criminal, and unhealthy, threatening impulse to engage in targeting other people. Your psychopathic disorder causes you to want to target innocent people like the Ontario Police Department are trying to skedaddle past the C Street turn circle. We already know that they're stalkers. They're also already fired. They're going to be committed. You have a police department that's engaged in stalking, not law enforcement. That's already handled. All right, but nonetheless, I'm not even going to take, I want you to see this because this is indicative of the mental illness that is shared by the Ontario Police, every single last person that's employed by the Ontario Police Department, everybody, every airline that's being operated while these demons are stalking me in these planes and flew over, in this video, over the top of my head. What is Ontario Police Department doing trying to skedaddle while I don't have the camera on for you to see that? They're stalking and they share in this mental illness. This is that P.O.C. I want you to pay attention to that.
where there cannot possibly be another sun, that's where you have the entity stalking. Impossible lights moving across, she is very much a demon. She's going to be committed. She's also stalked me by helicopter. You see my shadow? She's going to be committed. This is P.O.C. This is impunity. In furtherance of murdering an American citizen, Securitas.
Now, where you see me capturing it, there is nothing about what you're doing. These are all stalkers. This is a whole bunch of demons, and they're under the age of majority, engaging in criminal activity. This is public corruption. There is nothing about being on that golf cart that's covered in plastic that's going to result in light shooting across. But that's the pattern of conduct. In fact, you've even seen the demons of the Ontario Police Department demonstrate mental illness, which is the proof of their demon possession. It has nothing to do with your car. There's no 2027, 2028 models that are yet shooting out light out of the side of their car, okay? Which the government would let us know, why would we want to buy a vehicle that's shooting out light? They've yet to address that. In addition to what is the fake sun that you are under, though. This is speaking to the condition of those that are in this environment and what they're engaging in, no matter whether they keep their head down. While you can keep your head down while the government flies right over the top of my head, while the government is stalking in police vehicles, while the government is stalking in Alaska Airlines and Southwest Airlines and UPS planes, while the entity is doing it under a fake sun and impossible light activity. That which is impossible to occur, it's impossible, it's happening at the top of the vineyard, where you thought, the demons that don't know anything. You're a creature. Why do you keep trying to outthink me? You don't even think. This is an entity, you're getting committed. So understand, this is the public policy. Creatures like this are not receiving government assistance. They are not going to be in any court perjuring themselves, defaming the character of the one that you are stalking. This is what this entity has done. And it's wearing police uniforms. It's wearing robes, sitting on a bench. And every single last type of you creatures, all of you, are going to prison. And you're going to be subject to what are involuntary commitments. While this entity engages in kidnapping, July 13, 2026, you're looking at this entity that is gang stalking, this impossible light activity, the evidence of monitoring. And then you're remembering what Michael Lowe was participating in. He's not ignorantly engaged in. This is a pattern of conduct that is underway by the police, by the sheriff's department, by the court. Michael Lowe is a gang stalker that happens to be in the Air Force, the same cult, that's engaged in what is acting as a commissioner. And he's engaging in a kidnapping. You don't have any warrant while you're gang stalking. While they're stalking like that, you don't have any warrant. This is the product of targeting. Michael Lowe's going to prison. That's just Exhibit A. And Michael Lowe is being, on an ongoing basis, having testimony presented against him while I'm subject to targeting. Michael Lowe knows exactly who I am and knows that there is no warrant. It's beyond what he's participating in. He's not doing it ignorantly. He is a corrupt so-called officer of the court, which is an un-American, treasonous oxymoron. He's a demon. And he's a cult member, and he is targeting by engaging in the pattern of conduct. And it's not limited because you engage in kidnapping. Like I said, for 12 hours, the crime is completed. Michael Lowe's going to prison. Targeting me by airplanes because of your short-sightedness, and you don't understand how Michael Lowe at Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court is going to prison while you're stalking me with impossible light activity under a fake sun. And these demons that can't put 2 + 2 together are testifying against him. This is a system. This is the P.O.C. You don't have any warrant. You don't have any probable cause. You're stalking. And nobody forgot that. And you have the minions that are outside engaging in the bidding of that. You don't acquire any warrant or probable cause. You don't have any jurisdiction under the law. You're stalking, and you're stalking with the puppets that you also easily sacrifice. These are the demons that they kill. These are disposable minions. They're engaging in what is their purpose? Surveillance. This is the demon possessed. This is how the government teaches them. You're sitting around walking conspicuously stalking. This is what they're doing now. And this is why this entity that's engaging in this violence is going to be subject to martial law. Conspicuous stalking is violence. It's violence as a people. And the Ontario Police Department sharing that. The Ontario Police Department do more than that. They claim that they have probable cause or reasonable suspicion to say anything to you. Those are legal doctrines, sir, ma'am. Those have legal significance. What are you talking about, Satan? You're psychotic, and that's why you're going to be committed. Everybody that's sitting around wearing meat suits, everybody knows that you're a demon, Ontario Police. Everybody that's acting like you're not stalking, that's psychotic. It's already known that you're a stalker. While you're doing it in a police uniform, while you're doing it bearing a badge and a weapon, while you're talking like you're some police officer, you're getting committed. This is the P.O.C. So I want you to see that light activity. I want you to see the entity that's stalking. I want you to remember the environment that they're in while the gang stalkers are under a fake sun and in inexplicable light activity. This is Paul Leon letting you know. He's fearful, and he should be, because he's going to prison. That's what this is symbolic what the demons do. They're doing it where they're stalking with light. That City of Ontario pacing, mental illness. Understand, translate all of that. Because Paul Leon is absolutely right. Because what the gang stalking police are doing, the gang stalking mayor is doing in concert with that department. It's being disbanded. And every gang stalker in the court, every gang stalker with the sheriff's department, every gang stalker with the so-called police department, and it starts with the people of the state who are criminals. The police department are criminal. The sheriff's court, they're criminals. This is public corruption, and that's what you're getting, deducing from what is stalking with impossible light and flying over the top of my head as I'm embarrassing a local gang stalker who's going to prison, who's walking on engineer light under a fake sun that's still here at the end of the day, aimed inside of the doors of this venue. That's where you see the city of Ontario. Gang stalking. The mayor is paying for the ways in which you can stalk me in City of Ontario vehicles, paying for financing the demon-possessed gang stalking geezers to be inside of a senior center, gang stalking me. This is the entity that's engaged in that. And they have brought on the gang stalking mayor, the gang stalking police, the gang stalking judges, the gang stalking deputies, federally prosecuted, and you are going to prison, and you are also done with being in that field. Not in any jurisdiction in the U.S. This is the P.O.C. All right? You are as criminal as these demons, these broke down minions that are outside. You are not different. You're a vagina monitor and you have no authority under the law. And because you've engaged in that, you have exposed the entirety of that system. And I'm going to prosecute you for it because you must be made an example of in the United States, because terrorism is not acceptable. It is not acceptable, contrary to what you've been doing. But you're not going to murder and get away with anything. You're not getting away with anything. Everything that you do and the way in which All right, as you can hear from the video as it ended, that was storage running out on my phone. But my point, I believe, is well received. I think it's very clear. The entity that's engaged in gang stalking is the entity that is unprepared. This is an entity that commits murder, and they are stalking you like animals. They are animals that are stalking you, hunting you. And they do so with full intention to take your life. And any goods that you have, okay? So this is an entity that is committing robbery as an entity, and robbery committed as an entity is a calculated long-term investment, not necessarily long as the entity engaged in. This is years of the entity targeting me since I was a child, but you're talking about a long-term investment, meaning over the course of 6 months, targeting you and you end up dead, targeting you, you end up in a facility. That's relatively short-term. But in this environment, there is no randomness. There's no mystery about what happened to this person. This child is missing. We don't know what happened inside of the jail. We just found the inmate hanging from the bunk with a sheet around their. This is the environment where this is ongoing. These are demons that are monitoring. Not only do they know, because they're monitoring spirits. Understand, this is what Satan does. He sits and watches you take your life. He sits and watches other people take your life. He sits and watches you engage in sex with children. You're doing it in honor of Satan. These are demons that engage in that. Stalking is of a spirit. Satan is watching you, engaging in his bidding. These are demons that are engaging in that, and they're doing so as businesses. They're doing so as departments that have authority under the law, authority that they've given themselves, authority and access that they have abused for these demonic, i.e. criminal purposes. And what the entity is doing as a system. Nobody has forgotten the multiple kidnappings that the Ovid Family Community Library have committed, okay? Nobody has forgotten that, and nobody has forgotten about the criminal defamation that is inherent to engaging in that. No one is forgetting that you are under the fake sun as a matter of evidence. The fake sun is direct evidence, the significance of that. Let me show you how science is tying into Daisy being federally prosecuted, Daisy who was stalking right now by entering into Ovid Family Community Library, the same venue where the military flew over the top of my head. Daisy's going to prison. You will hear her name mentioned in the June 16, 2022 kidnapping, where she's defaming my character, and I had never before seen this demon in my life. All right, this is an entity that's engaged in that with the stalkers, the demons of the Ontario Police. This is all evidence that is laid out. My only point is that the entity that's engaged in this, they fully intend to hunt you down, stalk you, terrorize you. They derive pleasure out of it. They're not humans. This is Satan that's operating through people. This is why people have cruel tendencies, cruel actions. This is how human beings get to this point. This is how you have children that engage in this. You wonder who taught them that. It's of a spirit. Okay, sin, curses, which are demonic spirits that are generational. Absolutely. The Jezebel spirit that gave birth to that toddler, that's a demon coming out of her cursed womb. It comes out like that. It comes out afflicted. This is how you have them monitoring me. These little kids that are demon possessed, they're criminals. So I'm not going to talk about you differently. They're demons. That's wicked. Okay, the innocence that is there is the innocence insofar as they didn't ask to be born. They didn't ask to be born into those circumstances. They are nonetheless demons. They are nonetheless criminals under the law. And the people of the state that are over the age of majority, the government that's engaging in this system, the corporations, etc., all the ways in which children are included in the sex offense, that is gang stalking, that is criminal surveillance, that is public corruption, is to be dealt with, okay? And it exceeds that which is merely contributing to the delinquency of minors. This is an entity that is speaking to indoctrinating and teaching, modeling terrorism, corruption. And then you have a juvenile justice system where you're maintaining an illusion that you're interested in their protection. You're having sex with them in these facilities. You're violating them. You're psychologically torturing them. You're training them. Many times the entity that's engaged in the system, they incarcerate them to get them indoctrinated, and then they release them out into the wilderness where they're out here gang stalking me. And it was the local sheriff's department that engaged in what is anal sex against those children's, against their will, they don't know who are they going to report it to. They're automatically intimidated because it's an official that engaged in violating them in one way or another, and then threatening them, and also persuading them that it is to their benefit that they not tell anyone. They even receive benefits. Oh, you'll get away with criminal activity. I won't be so hard on you. But the entity is passing around spirits. That's all they're doing. These are demons. And let me be clear for you. In the physical, spirits being passed around, demon-possessed people that are, in case you did not know, demon possession, demonic spirits capable of taking over your vessel, that happens while you are being attacked, while you're being harassed, intimidated by the police. That's a spirit of fear. While you are being raped, while you're being violated, while you're being robbed by demons, while you're being stalked and terrorized, psychologically tortured, while you're being stalked by planes and helicopters that fly in circles around you, and they're waiting for an impact. They're waiting for it to affect you. I'll fly over you for hours. I'll fly over you for a documented 56 minutes, and we'll see if you've got a demon on you yet. Now, this is the entity. This is how demonic spirits are passed on. It works on these that don't know Christ. They don't know Christ. They don't know Christ. Satan takes over their entire vessel, and this is how I have Daisy, who's going to federal prison for targeting me, and this demon does this vagina monitor, who has a career of gang stalking at the Ovid Family Community Library, is engaging in what is the unthinkable, and I've proven the unthinkable. Which is how you are prosecuting any case. It's not based on what you find or what you can fathom, what you can accept. Literally, the military is stalking me where you live, you're automatically incriminated, but the evidence goes farther than that. The entity is stalking me with the fake son on the inside of the Ovid Family Community Library, and it is a matter of evidence. And her co-defendant, Mickey, is gang stalking me, while Daisy is criminally defaming me, and Daisy is kidnapping me June 16, 2022, with the stalkers that you know to date are still targeting the Ontario so-called police department. And they are being prosecuted. Daisy's being prosecuted. The Ovid Family Community Library being prosecuted, proven guilty by science. By Upland, the city of Upland, gang stalking. I can't make these facts up. That's why they're repeating the same pattern of conduct in a whole other city, which is a different region, which is not going to have the sun over the venue on the, what would be the south side of the Ovid Family Community Library, while it's sitting over me at the Upland Veterans Monument. This is the entity that's keeping a whole crime scene. Daisy is a criminal, contrary to what the criminal justice system would report about her, because she may or may not have a criminal record. Remember who is responsible for this, for achieving justice, for investigating criminals. Daisy is an undiagnosed psychopath. She is an exposed sex offender, a lesbian, a closeted homosexual. She's a psychopath that's engaging and has an appetite for targeting innocent people. That's what I represent. Because I don't know Daisy from left field, but I do know who she is because she's been targeting me. And I don't have to make up any fables about how psychotic she is in doing so. It's a pattern of conduct that she is sharing with a government that also is targeting me for no legitimate purpose, since I am not a criminal. In fact, it's the exact opposite. I'm a legally trained professional. And the entity's engaging in this pattern of conduct against the unlikeliest of them all. And that's how I'm able to tie together what you need to recognize is impossible light activity over your place of employment, impossible light activity while the entity is stalking and harassing me by aircrafts that are not normal. This is not Jetsons. Planes and helicopters are not just hovering around and nobody's paying attention and it doesn't mean anything. This entity is delusional. Remember, they first sought to engage in this and it'd be a matter of, what are you talking about? Nobody, there's no planes, there's no helicopter. What are you talking about? It was supposed to be a figment of my imagination. Remember, I represent the target individual's perception. You claim something and then nobody sees it. What are you talking about? There's nothing going on. What are you talking about? Are you talking about that plane that's way over there? No, I continue the documentation. It's a public investigation. So I'll show you what's going on all day long. All day long, because the entity is concerned about what is going on in the moment, and you see that they've abandoned that. They're so guilty. They're so embarrassed. They're so desperate. They're so psychotic and obsessed. They're doing it in plain view. I point out what they're doing. They do it in real time. I give you an example. They do it again. Okay, this is a circus that now I am showing you. This is how the circus operates. This is what they're doing. And this is who's going to be in trouble for it at the top of the list. But it's a system. You engage in any of these things, you're being federally prosecuted. So this is an entity that's engaging in that, and Daisy is in fact gang stalking by entering into the Ovid Family Community Library. She does so. I did take pictures of that. Daisy is engaged in years of surveillance. She's going to prison just off of that period, systematic surveillance and furtherance of murder. But Daisy has engaged in criminal summoning. She's engaged in criminal defamation. She's engaged in what is kidnapping as an entity. She is a habitual vagina monitor. She's a violent sex offender, and she is engaged in obstruction of justice because of my documentation of her. And that is the Ovid Family Community Library, which includes her as an employee that would like to try to save her reputation and criminally defame me. While the truth is that she is exactly what the evidence shows. And because you engage in harassment and defamation and more admittedly criminal conduct such as stalking by helicopter, that's not going to make the evidence against you go away. In fact, it's going to make a military tribunal be like, oh, okay, yeah, we see. Yeah, all right. Because that's in conformity to the pattern of conduct that I've already supported with evidence. These are demons that are not intellectual. They're not exercising any reason. They're not engaging in anything logical. They're not thinking, like I said. They're reacting to the truth, moreover. So me talking about Mickey and the military flying over my head, mowing over the top of my head, that's an act of terrorism you're going to live to regret. You're going to regret that. But I'm capturing it on video. Nobody's imagining anything. And the entity's engaging in this against me when I didn't report. I didn't go to any gang stalking demon that calls himself a nurse. I didn't go to any doctor or hospital. I didn't go to any police department telling them to help me. I knew what they were doing from the beginning, and I started my investigation. I started publishing it on the internet. This entity immediately started admitting to targeting me by engaging in what is harassment and kidnapping and defaming my character, because you have to lie on me in order to engage in what is acting like you have authority under the law to kidnap me. All right, and it's a kidnapping. Even when you want to cite the penal code, this is what the Ontario Police Department, because you're sitting up acting like you're a police department does not make you a police department. You're going to be disbanded and you're going to prison, and you're also going to be committed because it is mentally ill, psychotic, and it's also it's a mentally ill, psychopathic threat with regard to your psychopathic, behavior. It's mentally ill conduct to behave in the way that you are, engaging in what everyone knows that you are actually accomplishing while you think that you are representing yourself successfully to others. You are delusional. You are in denial. You've also seen the evidence that more than satisfies the legal standard. In court, you don't have a prayer, and God isn't listening to your prayers anyway, but you don't have a prayer. You're convicted in the court of public opinion, which is relevant here. The federal government, the FBI, is typically maintaining, and it's not just the FBI, but the federal agencies, they're maintaining investigations, and they do so secretly. For purposes of what I am doing, I am maintaining a public investigation of a federal nature just as well. And what the federal government is doing secretly, I am doing publicly. And it is coexisting with an entity that has been engaging in criminal activity on a stage, well lit, in front of the whole world and in front of the feds, okay? While they're focused on me. All right, and they are admitting to engage in everything that I said that they're doing and more. The entity is engaging in this conduct while you are subject to unthinkable things like what I've shown, being kidnapped by the police department that's supposed to be protecting you, the police department that you cannot report crimes committed against you to, because they're the ones that are committing that crime against you. They are the ones that intend for you to engage in that so that they can then claim, oh, do we need to do a welfare check? Oh, are you okay? That is what will turn into a welfare check in order to defame you. This is where the entities engage. All of it is a trap to engage in what is defaming your character, which is the purpose of what this entity engaged in. And Daisy defaming my character is not acting in furtherance of successfully doing that, because I was documenting Daisy before she started lying on my character. Okay, and the fact that Daisy did that, and she did that as an entity, is evidence that she is engaging in what I alleged at the outset. Upon upon initially starting this public investigation. All right. So the entity that is targeting is the entity that's engaging in what is admitting, oh yes, she's right, we're gang stalking her. Okay. It would be another thing if I said, oh, they're doing this and oh, they're doing that, and the entity was never harassing me by the police. They're never asking me stupid questions. They're never in my presence and making up information because nothing happened. So why are you sitting in front of me right now, asking me questions that you and I both know I don't have to answer, but you just want to be in my presence, do that. You're stalking. You're doing that while Southwest Airlines is in the background, hovering, looking psychotic, floating in the sky space, while you are under a fake sun. If you do not understand that you're going to be committed, that's because you are actually mentally ill. You cannot connect the dots with reality. You're going to be committed. I documented every ounce of it. While you thought you were going to have me looking like I'm bat poo crazy. That's what you thought. But the only ones that believe that are fools. Those are demons. Those are puppets. Because no intelligent person that's observing what's actually happening is going to even absorb that. They wouldn't entertain it for a second. I wouldn't entertain it because it's hearsay. So I don't operate like that. Just because you say it, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to operate on that just because you say it. But okay, noted. And if I make my own observations, then that's something else. The entity is engaging in what is just blatantly lying on my character. And they're lying on, they're engaging in going into courtrooms and just gossiping. And the judge is just, okay, so this is what we're doing. No due process, no confrontation, Sixth Amendment, all of that's just out the window. Oh, okay, got it. So the entity's engaging in just stalking in helicopters, following me around. And then that's supposed to be evidence that I'm mentally ill because you're waiting for someone to react to your criminal activity. That's how you're assessing. Oh, look, she's crazy. And you didn't even get that. But with regard to the ordinary target individual, that's not identifying mental illness. That's literally what they have. We're going to lie, and then we're going to gang stalk, and then we're going to record and document and testify to mental illness. Oh, see, we're stalking by helicopter. Leave that part out, the stalking by helicopter. We're going to fly over the target individual for 52 minutes, and then we're going to assess their reaction. And then, see, there's the evidence of mental illness right there. She is, again, bipolar, very angry. All right, very hostile. She's going around harassing people while the entity is conveniently leaving out the fact that they were stalking you for 52 minutes in a helicopter. That is not the practice of medicine. That is not a psychiatric evaluation. This public investigation of the P.O.C. is a psychiatric evaluation. A legitimate one that's based on facts. Where you don't have to, by the way, major in psychology to know that someone is people are seriously deranged by what they are clearly doing, which no one is imagining. In fact, it's proven with evidence. And this mentally ill entity thinks that it could just make up facts about you, like what Daisy did on June 16, 2022. I'm touching somebody's child. They never pointed out where is the child? When did it happen? Where on my podcast can I rewind so we can listen to me violating a child somewhere? And what is it that makes you come up with that type of lie? Not the typical black woman, I'm out here angry and I'm beating people up. I'm not cussing you out. I'm not being all ghetto, which is causing you to be fearful and you call the police because you're afraid of me. It's not because I'm stealing from people, all these stereotypes with regard to being just a black person, period, which is absolutely nonsensical, which demons who are melanated maintain that stereotype on purpose, while Satan has its roles that it maintains with regard to the illusion that racism is nothing other than the guise where the demon possessed are maintaining a means of separating us. But I just want to be clear. The entity is engaging in what is a specific type of lie, and that's because the Over Family Community Library, Daisy, who doesn't know me, is admitting that she does know me by creating that specific type of lie on my character. You want to paint me in a particular manner, not just any sort of bad person, but a pedophile. Oh, okay. And it's also relevant that you're monitoring my vagina and you call yourself then calling the police because I'm molesting a child. It's like you're trying to one-up me on the sexual violence, except yours is actually what you're engaging in, and what you're speaking about me is absolute. It's an admission about what you do, by the way. Child rapist. This is what Daisy is. She's a child rapist. She's engaged in gang stalking in furtherance of child rapists getting away with that. There's a child rapist that's stalking me by a military plane hovering over the top of my head. Child rapist stalking me in Southwest American airline planes, Delta airline planes, Alaska airline. Those are child rapists. The entity that's engaged in gang stalking and driving around in Ontario Police Department vehicles, arriving pursuant to criminal summoning at the Over Family Community, those are child rapists. What do you think is gang stalking? They have sex with kids. This is part of what they refer to as witchcraft. They have to have sex with kids. They don't have any on their own. These are demons that are out of fuel, if you will. They have no spiritual essence. They don't have any motivation, and they literally engage in what is stealing your essence by attacking you. And this is what I'm stating: when the entity indoctrinates you by kidnapping you into a facility as a child. And this system of public corruption, your parents are a part of your being kidnapped, and they know, and it's something that they were subject to and their grandparents were subject to, and you're going to be subject to it as well. So this is how they're engaging in what is violating you with regard to maintaining what is control. When you are spiritually attacked, when you're demon possessed, this is an entity that is demonic, that's maintaining control over the population. That population that's also feeding out propaganda about what's actually going on with said facilities, that are maintaining authority over, or what's actually happened. For example, when you are kidnapped, they're claiming that you robbed a liquor store. That little kid didn't rob a liquor store, and everybody knows that that's involved. But it's a part of what is getting him into that circumstance, getting that young child, him or her, into that circumstance in order for them to be violated, which is how demonic spirits operate. This is how you are affected by that. It's very spiritual when you are physically attacked, okay? It's a spiritual act. What is happening in the spirit, it manifests physically. When you are raped, that is a spirit, by the way. Sexual perversion is of a demonic spirit. So that's a demon that's sexually violating you, that has that desire to do that. It's a demon that has a desire to stalk you obsessively. And demons sit up and fantasize and make up different ways that they can stalk you. Oh, we could do it in a plane. Oh, no, we could do it in a heli. Let's do it as, we'll have a whole business. And then we'll maintain that business so that way we can be around all the time. We're all in our uniforms. We're all focused on doing this job at this place, and we'll maintain the whole environment, and we get to stalk and nobody will ever know. Those are demons. Those are demons that think that you cannot see them. This is literally what the demons that make up the system in California, because that's what they're doing on the roads and the highways. You ever looked at Google Maps and seen how the freeways swirl around and all the ways that the highways are constructed? Those are monitoring spirits on the roads and the highways. It's stalking in California. But anyway, the entity that's engaging in this, it's speaking to what is a system, and that system is speaking to what is an ongoing connected system. So what you did on July 13, 2022 in concert with Michael Lowe, who is at the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court gang stalking me, and doing so under the fake sun with the demons that are inmates in that jail, while the entity is stalking by plane and helicopter, the same exact identical pattern of conduct, which follows me from Fontana, where the entity displaced me, dropped me off in Fontana, where they know I don't have any way to get back to where I was kidnapped from in Ontario, in order to, so that they can stalk me obsessively all the way back while I come back to California, and stole my communication devices in doing so. Violated their own rules, which of course you're kidnapping, so you're a criminal already, but they don't even abide by their own rules with regard to inventory and evidence. Kept my phones that were on my person, because they didn't want me to have my phones in order to document them gang stalking me, which is underway in Fontana. As I walked through Fontana, walked all the way back to Ontario, while you just wanted to kidnap me for a few hours, and then engage in what is the exercise of fictitious authority. And all the demons from city to city, knowing exactly who I am, that fake sun remaining over me from Fontana to Ontario. I've already documented that, by the way. All right, this is a whole system. So what Michael Lowe is engaging in, it's still ongoing right now. Michael Lowe has not ceased to be engaged in the pattern of conduct. I had the opportunity to document and identify another terrorist, and his name is Michael Lowe. He is a part of what is the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, as he's acting as a gang stalker, identifying himself as by position as a commissioner, and he's monitoring me. All right, and he is a part of that court that is engaged in gang stalking. Gang stalking that's ongoing right now by Daisy, by the Ovid Family Community Library, by the Ontario City Hall, by Securitas, that's stalking with impossible light activity. This is the exact system where you are not exercising authority as a court, Michael Lowe. This is someone that knows that. He knows the law, in fact. This is where you're getting to what is mental illness. This is psychopathic. Psychopaths know the difference between right and wrong. They know what's acceptable. They know what's socially expected of them. They know what it is that they're supposed to do, especially with regard to any expertise that they may have, any obligations that they may have, any oaths that they take, like gang stalking police officers, sheriffs, sheriff's offices, deputies that are part of law enforcement, the military, they take oaths, the medical professionals, they take oaths. These are demons. These are psychopaths. They are acting in conformity to what is expected, but it's only on the surface, because what I have shown you that, let's just go beyond the surface a little bit. I know you see them standing there and they're composing themselves, and they've got their white jacket on, and they've got their blue pen in their left pocket, all right, and they've got their hair nice and meticulously pulled back in a ponytail with their glasses on, with their notepad in their right arm, ready to go and make their rounds to go see all their patients in that hospital that's under the fake sun, while the entity is sounding that amplified plane activity inside of that hospital, where the entity is engaging in what is amplifying helicopter activity inside of that hospital, while that same medical professional is conducting herself or himself in the same manner, composed, mannerable to all the rest of the demons, but with regard to me, the target individual. And remember, I'm special because I know the law. They don't like me because of my abilities to articulate that, because I'm not intimidated by what I also know that they are. They're creatures, but I'm respectful to the creatures, but they know that I know that they're demons. And they also are hostile because I know that you're beneath me. In fact, you're a demonic spirit. You're literally beneath me. Satan doesn't like that. And so Satan, that's dressed up in a white jacket as a medical professional, is outwardly conducting themselves as though I'm any other patient while you're kidnapping me. And kidnapping is not going to be proven or rebutted by the smile on your face, or the meticulous ponytail that you have, or the way in which you are doing your rounds in a timely manner in that hospital that's filled with engineered light, that's under the fake sun, where the entity's amplifying plane and helicopter activity and maintaining criminal summoning while you're psychologically torturing and gang stalking with the people of the state who are patients in that venue. The employees working in the medical field are gang stalking the targeted individual. The same exact template is underway at any venue. The Sheriff's Department, West Valley Detention Center, the courthouse, Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, the police station, pick one, anyone. I documented it. Ontario Police Department, Pomona Police Department, Fontana Police Department, you pick one. Because I've shown you the pattern of conduct where they're engaging. Southwest Airlines has no business hovering over. How is that? But I have it on video. Southwest Airlines, they're being operated by demons who are suicidal and unintelligent, and they're not putting two and two together. They're focused on me, and that's the point. While the FBI maintains a secret investigation, I am publicly maintaining an investigation, and it is absolutely authorized. Okay, in fact, it's leading. It's leading in that investigation. It's the reason why the feds are maintaining a secret investigation. The entities engaging in this conduct and the demons have already shown their hand. The demons are in the hospitals, they're in the jails, they're at the police stations, they're at the courthouse, they're at the library, they're at the liquor store, they're at the grocery store, they're on the roads and the highways, they're at the bank, they're at the apartment complex, they're in the subdivision, they're gang stalking as security guards that are stalking with impossible light, flinging around while you're driving around in a golf cart wrapped in plastic. Where, pray tell, is that light coming from? And who do you think that you're going to criminally defame and with regard to this absurd conduct and this ridiculous environment? And you think that putting on a white jacket and smiling as though there's some sort of distinction between what I'm documenting outside and what you engaged in, a year and a half ago? This is an ongoing investigation. It didn't stop. There's no pause, just like there's no pause in your gang stalking me. What Michael Lowe is engaging on July 13th, 2026, Michael Lowe's going to federal prison for that. You're going to federal prison. While the Ontario police are showing that they're stalkers and they're demons and they can't control themselves. They're always reacting to what I publish on my podcast. While they're hostile because I'm making an analytical reference to the July 16, 2022 kidnapping and the demons that are engaging in what is criminal summoning in Upland, California, while I'm prosecuting them stalking me on one street where the fake sun is rising and setting on one street. Where do you think that nobody sees, including the federal government? While demons are monitoring. Let me show you who they are. Red Tesla, gang stalking, psychopathic pacing, 9 Nancy Zebra David 036. This is a cottonhead demon, white, dirty, I already documented her, CY33 Frank 22. This is the demon that was stalking and she's embarrassed. She's gang stalking. She's consumed with me while she was supposedly driving at Metro 102 apartment. She's on video and she didn't do her hair on that day either. She's gang stalking while she is monitoring under the fake sun. And these are demons that are all aware about the ways in which I've embarrassed them or whatever time that they took their turn on the wheel of Erica Spencer prosecuting you. Come take your turn. Come have your turn. All right, because the entity is engaging in this and you're doing so as a system. Michael Lowe's gang stalking with Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, who's gang stalking with San Antonio Regional Hospital, who's gang stalking with Woodside Senior Apartments, who's gang stalking with the City of Upland, who's gang stalking with Chino Branch Library, who's gang stalking with the Fontana Lewis Library, who's gang stalking with the Fontana Police Department, who's gang stalking with Los Angeles Police Department, who's gang stalking with Speaker Companies Incorporated. It is the state of California. This is the P.O.C. and these fools prosecuted themselves because demons don't have any restraint. Self-control is the fruit of the Holy Spirit. They don't have it. And I expose that. I literally use it to my advantage because I know what they are. And the more that I speak, as you've witnessed, the more that it comes out, and you need to see that beast. You need to see it. Not because it's something to be fearful of, but it's something to let you know what they are. They're creatures. And those that are in Christ, you are above it. Christ already defeated this. He already defeated it on the cross. He already defeated it. He rose from the dead. It's already defeated. This is an entity that's engaging in criminal activity. So we're dragging it out. There's no magic. You are not magical. Daisy's going to a very real federal prison, and you're not going to abracadabra your way out of that. This is the entity that's engaging in it, and Daisy's going to prison for kidnapping in 2022, and she's still accumulating federal charges, like conspicuously stalking me. This is why I document with the level of detail that I do. And the federal government, they know how they operate, and they're now aware of who I am, and that I know obviously how they operate as well. And I'm speaking their language, and I say what I say for a reason. This is an entity that's being analyzed from every angle. And what you thought was going to defame another person, this is speaking to the existence of a system that is going to be responded to in a federal manner regarding what shall be policy to deal with you, the terrorist, the mentally ill. This is the P.O.C., and that's what I was getting to. The entity that's engaging in targeting me is doing so, and while an ongoing investigation is underway. The federal government's maintaining a secret investigation. That investigation is indicated to you by my public investigation. Because I have no secrets. The entity, you want to violate my privacy, I'm going to prosecute you in front of everybody. How about that? I'm going to prosecute you in front of the federal government. How about that? In front of the world, moreover. That's what I'm going to do. That's what's going to happen. Because you thought you were going to make an example out of Christ? What? Who? What? You're confused about who you are. We're going to put the cockroaches back in their place. You are not some professional that's wearing a white jacket. You're a roach trying to disguise yourself. And it's my job to rip that mask off. You're the one that doesn't connect that gang stalking me by helicopter every day and every night is going to put the demons, the stalkers at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, like David Siegler, in prison. You're the one that doesn't connect that. That's you. That's not based on reality, though. That's not how this investigation is leading. That's not where the facts are leading toward at all, because that's exactly where you're going. I'm being gang stalked because I was being gang stalked and the entity sought to criminally defame my character upon kidnapping. Who has any legal authority and who is engaging in anything other than this system when I'm showing you the absurdity of what they're doing? Southwest Airlines is literally chasing me up the street. Can you believe that? No, you can't believe that. That's why I have to document and provide hard evidence of it. And that's fine. I'll do that. I'll be that person. I'll do that. The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct, which is unfathomable because they are creatures, because they are mentally ill. They belong in cages. These are unrepentant demons. And for your purposes, for your understanding, you need to understand that that is severe mental instability. That is a threat to us as a country, as a people. They don't care anything about patriotism. They don't care anything about this country. While they go around dragging the flag, while they're gang stalking. Those are demons. Those are demons. Just so that you know that. All right, because real patriotism is not engaging in what is trying to kill in the United States, we're one, okay? So you're talking about what is not trying to kill your brethren. That's literally what these demons are doing, and they do it holding up the flag. You saw the demons, the U.S. Marines outside of the Upland Public Library under the fake sun. They're doing it while they're holding up the flag, representing this cult that is exposed as a cult. You're not the military. And that's why you're being discharged, because you've been trying to disguise yourself as that. You're not the military. You're terrorists. And you hate this country. And you went into the military to engage in exercising and communicating that hatred for this country. You betray us with other countries, other nations. They engage in betraying us. You know, we don't have any privacy here, right? You don't have any privacy. It's not just what I'm showing you here. The rest of the world is keeping us under surveillance. They know what color underwear you're buying at Target. They're aware of the cell phone calls that you're making to your mistress. They're aware that you have a fetish for watching a certain type of pornography. They're aware that you are lusting after someone else when you are contemplating getting married to your fiance. They're aware these are demons. And the reason why you are aware of this is because this pattern of conduct is exposing surveillance. Moreover, not just surveillance using technology, monitoring spirits surround you. You're being watched, okay? And not only that, this is the reality because you need to be concerned, more importantly, you need to be concerned with being right with God because he's watching. And that's what you really need to be concerned about. He's watching. He's on the throne. But God is not some monitoring spirit that's trying to monitor your genitalia. God is not a pervert. He does not go around possessing people to then stalk you and harass you just so that they can kill you and take what you want, take what you have because they're losers and of a loser mindset. That's Satan and his minions. Those are children of the devil, and they are working for the government that's being exposed. Okay, so the entity that's engaging in this is in reminding you about those that are in positions where they don't even have a criminal record. And but for this investigation, but for the entity targeting me, if the entity hadn't kidnapped me and tried to defame my character, which was a poor decision at the outset, but for that happening, though, you never would have known about David Siegler, who is a terrorist who's targeting people, who's engaged in the unfathomable. That is not being addressed while he targeted me and was yelling at me in the hospital because I'm asking him questions which I am entitled to do under the Welfare and Institutions Code, where I'm very well versed on that. I know my rights and I know what you can do with the information that I don't give you because I say I don't want to speak. Because then you're harassing me by repeatedly coming into the room, which is not making me your patient. It will never occur when you're kidnapping with this entity that's gang stalking now. It's never going to happen. If the entity didn't do that, though, you would never know about the likes of David Siegler and everybody that he's working with. He's head over the behavioral health. He has behavioral health issues that are a threat to this nation while he is heading the behavioral health department. San Bernardino County, very heavily documented gang stalker. Everything that San Bernardino County touches. San Bernardino County, Library, Fontana Lewis Library, San Bernardino County, the TAD office, Human Resources Department, San Bernardino County, Behavioral Health, they're psychopaths. They're gang stalkers. Okay, this San Bernardino County is nothing other than the public entity that's gang stalking. And they engage in what is criminal defamation. They're targeting people that they are very much aware as monitoring spirits. But again, prosecuting under the law, I can expose you for your psychopathic and i.e. malicious conduct while you are targeting with a police department that's engaged in the pattern of conduct in the specific environment where the pattern of conduct is underway amongst the people of the state that are engaging in the pattern of conduct and doing so in furtherance of a criminal conspiracy to murder. There's context here. You're trying to steal my money, steal my identity. You've already claimed that I'm dead somewhere. You're claiming that you're entitled to insurance benefits. Nobody's talking about that part. Oh, but the federal government that's maintaining a secret investigation, they know about it. And they know the truth that I'm speaking while I'm documenting stalking by suicidal gang stalkers that are demons. They don't have anything to live for. So now that they're caught, this is why you have the airlines engaging in what is this, as far as a corporation is concerned, suicidal behavior. Businesses that know that it's over. Businesses that are aware that it's going to be all over the news. It's going to be all over the news. You ever heard of an airline industry stalking somebody? Well, it's proven by the P.O.C. And that is occurring where the government is stalking someone. Did you know that the government is a stalker in the United States? So that's speaking a lot about what's going on in third world countries. If the United States is a stalker, and they're claiming that we have a constitution, that's just an illusion. It's a joke to them, and they're going to find out how real it is because I'm using the Constitution to prosecute you. I'm using the Constitution to expose how lawless you are. I'm using the Constitution to show the malice with which you engage in the pattern of conduct and the ways in which you are enabling. You are the reason for. It's your fault that the people of the state, the population, are criminals. It's your fault because of the role of the government. It's your fault. Wow, the people of the state do not have a defense in court, but the government's role, I'm going to prosecute you for what is your fault for my suffering. Okay, but anyway, this is the entity that's engaged in that. So my video did run out, my storage, it's cleared up now, but I wanted to document that the entity is engaged in targeting me, and they're doing so while their mental illness is literally, it's present, right? It's like, think of it like this, it's like dormant. All right, these are raving lunatics, and they walk around angry and hostile. They wake up mad, and I'm being facetious because they don't sleep. They don't sleep. These demons don't sleep. I've shown that as well. They don't sleep. So the entity is engaging in what is, let's liken it to something that's dormant. The more that I speak the truth. The more that I speak the truth in the effective manner that I do with words, the relationship that I have with words, in order to describe effectively, this, in order that you may understand and you can appreciate, and also you can empathize with a targeted individual that's not here, that's locked up somewhere, that has yet to be able to tell their story because of what they were subject to, and they weren't able to use the P.O.C. They don't have the P.O.C. I'm speaking for people that are already dead. They're 6 feet under. This entity, demons, homosexuals, terrorists like Daisy, are aiding in their murder. And she goes to work every day, making her little $55,000, $60,000 a year, gang stalking at the local library. All right, this is an entity that's engaging in that. And while the entity is engaging in that, the more that I speak, understand that mental illness, which lies dormant, which their mental illness, this is a physical manifestation of demon possession, which is invisible. The invisible is the demon possession. This is spirit. The physical is the mental illness that's manifest in their behavior. Okay? So the more that I speak, the more triggered that dormant, the demons are, and that dormant mental illness, if you will, that demonic spirit acts out, i.e., stalking in the helicopter, okay? Doing so for hours. I have LAPD stalking me for 47 minutes outside of my living room window by helicopter, just flying in circles, just having a psychotic, there's no other way to put it. The entity engaging what is stalking, and I maintain a playlist so that you can see what is the manifest mental illness, and it is shared by those that are wearing their white jackets and meticulously putting their hair back in ponytails and arriving in court and speaking to their diagnosis of Erica Spencer when I was never in their presence and they never had any lawful interaction with me, where they are not completely just making it up altogether, or where they are merely in the same building that I am, at the same venue that I'm located, where I'm kidnapped, which is them kidnapping me. There has never been any sort of exchange, nothing. And I know the rights that are afforded under the Welfare and Institutions Code. So even when you kidnap me, and I merely am cooperative and professional, as you've witnessed me doing, nobody can question about my character, which is also why you maintain a public investigation, while the federal government is maintaining a secret investigation, and you are becoming acquainted with the person that the federal government is going to vindicate, okay, with regard to justice. And I've introduced myself to you, this entity that sought to gang stalk me and then wants to murder your character before they do that. Not that it matters, even if the federal government is doing their job, by the way, just as a tangent. Even if the federal government is doing their job and defaming, and the entity is defaming someone, even if you don't like that person, the federal government still maintains the same obligations under the law. RICO laws are not going to change because you don't like the person that's being targeted. Okay? It doesn't work like that. This is you're talking about the laws, which is why I love the law. This is why I love it. It's unemotional. It's fact focused. It's not based on any sort of, it's uniform. It never changes. You could literally put on blind Lady Justice. This is why she is, again, this is why these are things that actually have significance. I know you're not acquainted with that if you're not just outright ignorant about it, or you're talking about what is making it less and less sexy to be informed about your rights, to know and how to spell the Constitution, to be informed and exercise your rights, because this government is increasingly seeking to take them from you, okay? Impede upon their existence and your exercise of them. While Mickey is crossing path under the fake sun. This is P.O.C. I'm gonna go ahead and take a picture of that. All right, Mickey is going to prison. It is 8:52, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8.5 hours from now. Mickey is on the inside of the Open Family Community Library, and she is walking around on evidence that I'm going to use to have her mind state examined by professionals that are not gang stalking, like Arrowhead Regional Medical Center and San Antonio Regional Hospitals. These are corrupt facilities that are engaged in the pattern of conduct, and you know that by virtue of being in the state of California. And I can get to that macro level of making a conclusion based on the pattern of conduct that I'm documenting day by day by day, as you are able to then appreciate it in the aggregate. So this is what is relevant, what is necessary about maintaining a public investigation for years, so that you can see how that evidence is working. And meanwhile, the entity thought that, and the reason why the entity thought that they could basically just gossip, all you did was gossip in a courtroom. And that is equally unlawful by the judge, because you have a responsibility. This is why we have that thing called the Constitution and due process rights. Remember all that stuff? All right. And spell work, being a demon. I'm just giving you context. That is not giving any judge any sort of defense at all. It's not giving you any defense. You're incompetent. That's what that means. You're incompetent. You're corrupt. All right. So this is the entity that has engaged in targeting me. And the reason why they were convinced that they could do so is because they have judges in their pockets. They have the entire court system in their pocket. And you know that because the fake sun is over the courtroom. It's bigger than just any one judge in the court. Understand, the fake sun is over me at that courthouse. They're monitoring. They even know, in other words, they know who I am. They're targeting me, and they also know that I'm not a criminal. This is the level of malice that you're dealing with. And it's also the identification of mental illness. So while the entity is engaged in stalking me obsessively, this is a system. And every single last judge, from Lisa Rogan to Kara Hudson to Michael Lowe to Kyle Brody, I just want to be clear, because I've said it over the years. You're talking about Thomas Garza criminally evading service of process, which is something that I am speaking to, yes. The criminal pattern of conduct, while you're then going to violate what is a fundamental right, very clear, not an elaborate, not a complicated legal issue whatsoever. It's literally service of process to a fee waiver recipient, and all you had to do was tell the gang stalking department, San Bernardino County Sheriff, to provide service of process. And you did not do that because you intended for the conspiracy to commit murder to progress, to continue. That's a crime. That's not just a violation where there's some administrative hearing that's going to be heard and me complaining on your bar license. No, that's a criminal act. That's a criminal act, and I'm supposed to be dead already. Understand? That's very much criminal. And Thomas Garza, there's no statute of limitations for that. And there also isn't a statute of limitations because I'm still subject to the same gang stalking. Southwest Airlines stalking me up the street, Mr. Garza, is serving to prosecute you. It is ongoing testimony regarding the malice with which you refrain from engaging in your job as you are a judge sitting on the bench while I'm presenting my case against you, the state of California, and you refuse to provide service of process with the intent to obstruct justice in furtherance of the criminal conspiracy to commit murder. And that is fully documented in my prosecution of the court. The court that's under the fake sun, the court that is stalking me by helicopter in the middle of the day. I believe it's 12:49 p.m. where I also juxtapose that with 12:49 p.m. at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, where LAPD was in the same pattern of conduct. In other words, I'm being gang stalked by helicopter under the fake sun at that court that engaged in the criminal evasion of service of process, which is nothing other than a reference to exercising authority that you do not have. You don't have authority to engage in what is the maintenance of or the exercise of authority under the law because you're the criminal. And this is what happens when the government is proven to be the criminal. But nonetheless, you did that. Thomas Garza, San Bernardino Superior Court Justice Center, they did that. And that's documented criminal activity as I prosecuted that case. And I prosecuted that case in order to prove that you cannot and you will not receive justice from the entity that is gang stalking you. Right? So the entity is engaging in this, and it was confirmed. Nobody knows anything about First Amendment rights anymore because the Second District Court at the appellate level in Riverside, they did not correct that very glaring and clear issue of First Amendment access to the courts, which is speaking to an emergency, a threat to my life. All manner of that entire legal argument is establishing the entity's necessity to grant me the ability to receive service of process and cause Thomas Garza to do his job, which was make the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department do their job. It is literally a matter of statute. It is their obligation that they hold in office. Understand how they violated the law and not doing what they were supposed to do, and then not causing Thomas Garza, he is violating the law while he doesn't cause the Sheriff's Department that he has authority under in that court to do their job. And it is literally by statute where it says that this is the job that you're required to do when you hold this office. And they just said, no, I'm not going to do it. We're not going to do it. While Mickey is gang stalking me at the Ovid Family Community Library, meanwhile, engaging in criminal summoning, harassment, monitoring my vagina, defaming my character, calling me a child molester, trying to accumulate, again, manufacturing, trying to engineer something while I'm putting together an actual criminal case that this entity is seeking to avoid. And this is because they plan to commit murder. That is an unlawful threat. Every single last judge that engaged in this, whether you appreciated it or not, you know the law. You know the law. And now it's being applied to you in ways that are unprecedented because you engage in unprecedented criminal activity that violates literally the purpose for which you claim that you were in the position that you are, sitting on the bench. In fact, using it to commit murder as an entity, to get away with it, to facilitate it, also to profit from it. you're going to prison. All right, so the entities engaged, and there's a list of you. There is a long list of you that are going to prison. While I've been maintaining this investigation, and I want to be clear, you witnesses that are listening, they are mentally ill, because while this is the case, Southwest Airlines is still stalking me, following me, chasing me up to up Euclid Avenue into Upland, California. While Kara Hudson is going to go to federal prison. Thomas Garza is going to federal prison for it. And this is not an exaggeration. You engage in gang stalking me, you are not getting away with it. You are spending time in prison. And you shall, because the little peon demons that are gang stalking amongst the people of the state, they're going to learn when they see you locked up that they don't want any of those types of problems. No one at any level is impervious to prosecution as a terrorist. In fact, those that are in positions of authority, you are going to be made an example of regarding what is absolutely unacceptable, not tolerated. And when they see Thomas Garza, and when they find out his sentence to prison, when they discover that the entity is engaged in what is prosecuting and removing altogether corporations that are stalking like Southwest Airlines, the people of the state, the minions that are making up a population of stalkers, that is when they will appreciate it. Because as of right now, these are mentally ill psychopaths that are delusional. And as clearly as I am speaking, understand they are not comprehending, because they are actually mentally ill. They are actually psychopathic because they are demon possessed. This is a threat to this nation. While it seeks to remain dormant and conduct itself as one that's working in a hospital. If you're working in a hospital, that means that you're definitely not mentally ill, right? You can be suffering from some mental illness because you work in a hospital. You work amongst medical professionals. You're in that field. That's mutually exclusive. Psych. David Siegler is a psychopath. He's a sex offender. He's a demon at that. And he derives pleasure. He's a specific type of psychopath. He derives pleasure in triggering people in order to get what is his quote unquote diagnosis. That's his technique. Very disrespectful, very argumentative, cantankerous, uncooperative. While I'm asking basic questions that I'm entitled to after you're holding well after the 72 hours, and I'd just like to know, sir, what further observation, what is the next step in this process? While you're kidnapping me and I'm being this cooperative, while you're stalking me with impossible light activity like this demon in this golf cart, while you're engaging what is stalking me by helicopter activity that's amplified inside of that hospital room, where you think that I'm going to act out in a manner where you can sit there and take notes about it and diagnose me under those circumstances, you're going to prison, sir. You're going to prison. And this is your psychiatric evaluation. You're going to prison. David Siegler's mental illness is exposed while the entity is stalking me with impossible light activity and stalking me in dumpster trucks and stalking me by maintaining presence where you live, and the entity is engaging in psychotic things and asking me in a text message, are you outside? While the entity then flies over my head by helicopter. These are the type of things that you're expecting someone to react to. You are maintaining an ongoing detailed list of as to the ways in which you are a threat to the public. You're a threat to yourself and the public. You're unstable and you're unfit to be in the medical field, David Siegler. And this is representative. He is a template regarding the psychopaths that are in the medical field gang stalking in California. Good morning. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while they are exposing themselves. And this is what you get when you are coming for the person that is the investigator. I give you plenty of hints. Federal prosecutor. Look it up if you don't know what that means. This is an entity that's engaging in that while the federal government is maintaining a secret investigation, the details of which you will learn about in the near future. But the entities engaging in this, and they're doing so as one that is exposing themselves. Okay, I don't have to meet the mom that lives off of Baseline and Highland in San Bernardino, and she drives to the hospital off of Waterman, and I've never met her before, and she is again employee of the month while she's bringing brownies every other week and giving them out to the children that are mentally disabled, and she's been working there for 17 years, and she is working under the fake sun in downtown San Bernardino, gang stalking me and monitoring me, and this is proven while I'm in Ontario, California, where the two are mutually exclusive. There's no sun in any natural environment over that hospital in downtown San Bernardino. She's a gang stalking minion. This is what Satan does. This is what Satan does. You have the evidence. You've been given the proof. This environment is a cartoon environment. It is not the natural environment. This is how you are aware about what surrounds you. Now, while you've been given these spiritual truths, understand that Christ is Lord. He is on the throne. He is the true and living God. He is the only God. He is the one that gave his life, having committed no sin. He is the image of the invisible God, and he is coming back in judgment, and he's giving warnings. Don't be like these fools who did not even heed the warning regarding being prosecuted, let alone him coming back in judgment regarding the placement of your soul for eternity. You're not coming back as a caterpillar. You're not coming back as Queen Elizabeth's niece. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be some celebrity's favorite child. It's not happening. You're going to spend somewhere in eternity. And it's based on decisions that you make now. These demons fail to repent. They fail to accept and take heed to warnings that they've been given. And because they failed to take heed, now you're envious. Where does that take place? You're psychotic. You're envious because of the ability for somebody else to choose to walk with Christ, to choose to be obedient to what he's called that person to do, called me to do, or whatever, because we all make a decision. You all make a decision. These demons made a decision. The level of insanity that is involved in that sort of mindset. Now, that is what I am not trained in order to go into the details of. That exceeds my expertise. And nor do I have to have that in order to recognize that as being the case, or to identify that there's a serious mental issue there. And it's readily identifiable that it's a threat to everybody, while they're engaging in a pattern of conduct that you're also witnessing. This is an entity that exposed itself, okay? And they did it to themselves. All right, this is the P.O.C. It's currently 9:05 a.m. The entity is engaged in criminal activity. They're sitting up monitoring me, and this is an entity that is obsessed with the one that is prosecuting them, that has already prosecuted them. And the entity is doing so while then they are hostile. These are the children of the devil, okay? So this is the entity that you fail to repent. That system that is working on your mind. This is why you are out of your mind. This is why you are suffering physical consequences for what is your spiritual condition. You're mad because you're being told about yourself. You're being told that you're a criminal, which you are. And you're also perhaps learning that you are a demon. You're not just a criminal. You're a demon. You are a demon. And this is why you've been doing the things that you've been doing. And this is why you're angry about your own wrongdoing being exposed, which nobody cares about that. All right. The only ones that care are the medical professionals that are going to refrain you, since you seem to be speaking to the fact, oh, you can't control yourself, because there are professionals that know what to do about that, since you can't control yourself. Is that what you're stating? Because that's exactly what everybody is witnessing. We're not going to do anything in the shadows. You're not going to sit up and defame my character. When I've lived a life maintaining what is a level of professionalism, because I had an inkling that I was going to be doing something that was related to the practice of law. You're not going to throw mud on my name and do it in secret. Oh, no, since you want to play that game, we're going to do it in front of everybody. Because you're the one that has secrets, not me. You have secrets. You have problems, not I. And everything that you speak about me, when did you and how did you gain that information, which is of no consequence? While you were stalking, right? Yeah, you're always stalking. Don't you ever forget that. Everything you speak of regarding me is an admission to you stalking me. Don't ever forget that. And anybody that's entertaining it, it's of the same spirit. You're of the same spirit. So this is the entity that's been told also while they've witnessed in whatever side of it. I don't really care about that. But these are demons that are learning about themselves, learning about spirits that you're entertaining, and that which you need to refrain from, repent from, because it's turning into a matter of what is a federal prosecution. It's no small thing. American citizens are dying. They're losing their well-being. They're losing their rights. They're losing the ability to literally govern and be sovereign over themselves and their circumstances over their lives because a bunch of demons think that they can't. No, you can't. No, you cannot. And you can't even control your own mind. It's a rubber ball on the inside of your head. You're psychotic. This is an entity that's engaging in that conduct, while they are going to target together other people that that are not in a position to defend themselves against the gang members. They're gang members. That's all it is. It's gang violence by Satan. And those are cowards. Cowards that have to group up together, that's a coward. Where I'm from, that's called a punk, okay? And punks are put in a certain type of category. And it's not one where you're revered or respected at all. All right, this is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:08 a.m. That is CMAX you hear stalking. CMAX has an entire playlist with regard to the pattern of conduct that they are engaging in at the location where the entity is admittedly engaging in surveillance, which is why Michael Lowe and Kara Hudson, Lisa Rogan, Kyle Brody, Thomas Garza, the entity that's gang stalking as a corrupt court, is engaging in what is targeting me, where you are engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct, and there will never be any sort of judgment that's rendered against you regarding your mental instability, which is coincidentally happening while you are being gang stalked by that same entity. So understand the facts how this works. Thomas Garza is both gang stalking me, and then Thomas Garza is going to deny me my right to freedom of speech in order to prosecute him in court. A fool, you're going to prison. You're going to prison. This is P.O.C. CMAX is engaged in psychopathic pacing. It's light activity, and the entity is engaged in this at the same location where you saw light traveling, swimming across the wall. These are all demons. Demons operating corporations like CMAX are going to be federally prosecuted. And this is another gang stalking corporation for the city of Ontario. I'm going to drain their pockets. They're going to be federal. They're going to be subject to federal prison. They'll be subject to damages, et cetera, et cetera. I'm thoroughly prosecuting the entire entity. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:09 a.m. on Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. All right, call Amazon Prime that's gang stalking in the middle of the afternoon, and I reminded you on that day in the afternoon where Amazon is stalking in the pathing. It's light activity. You're paying attention to the elements, the substance, not the superficial surface. A logo stating Amazon, a vehicle stating Sectran, picking up monies. It's the same P.O.C. where the entity is stalking. There's no flights from the airport where they're engaging in anything other than gang. People, the state engaged in criminal activity with Paul Leon, who's being prosecuted. There's the entity that's stalking Southwest Airlines, that's engaging in what is doing. Southwest Airlines likes to do U-turns right in this parking lot. Southwest Airlines is stalking, and it's exposing stalking, and this is the entity with light activity. That's what Securitas has been doing for hours, stalking with light. Also with impossible light activity that just flies and swims across the building. That's the conduct that Southwest Airlines is a part of. And so is the entity that's engaging in what is gang stalking using, this appears as though it is this Greyhound. No, it looks like I.I.S buses. Nonetheless, this is the entity that's creating light activity in the path, and Amazon Prime is stalking at the same city hall that's engaging in the criminal activity as the public entity. So here is my shadow up here, and that's the fake sun. And then this is the same bus bench. You can see the shadow that's appearing here. This is impossible light activity. This is double shadows. The shadow of the bus bench behind it, the shadow of the bus bench in front of it. And this is relevant to that flashing of light conduct that you see the entity engaging. This is called light activity. It's criminal conduct regarding monitoring. Monitoring is underway by those who are demons. Demons form corporations to engage in surveilling you in ways in which you are ignorant about. It is a matter of public corruption, and it's also legally relevant that it's happening at a government venue where the population is engaging in criminal activity with that government. And this is the entity that's doing so. It's finance. This is all mentally ill behavior. All the City of Ontario vehicles, understand they're engaging in light activity. This is speaking to the rampant lawlessness of the City of Ontario. Okay? 1704101, 1497512, City of Ontario. This is psychopathic pacing. They wait until I come, and now this is what they're doing. Crossing path. 1690340. Walking under the umbrella, light activity. This is pacing. License EP10536. An impossible light activity moves across the tree. You already know that those are demons. I've already documented City of Ontario driving blue vans that somehow have the magical ability to have light shooting backwards behind them while they are stalking me in the path. And impossible light activity was moving all across the downtown Ontario luxury apartments. That was also under the fake sun. And this is the City Hall. This is where Amazon Prime is stalking me in the middle of the afternoon. The Ontario City Hall, this is how the law works. The government itself that is financing Paul Leon's being federally prosecuted for conspiring my murder. Providing finances. You specifically know who I am, and you are targeting while Southwest Airlines is flying over the City Hall. Coming from Terminal 4 is a means of targeting, not a flight coming from the airport. And they're doing so while the government welcomes criminals to aid in that conduct. Inland Empire, IEbuses.com is gang stalking. This is crossing path. The City of Ontario vehicles leave, more vehicles arrive. This is psychopathic pacing. These are demons that are mentally ill. Okay? And you are removing a gang stalker that provides funds for this corruption. The municipality is a corrupt business, and it's being defunded, and those are the demons of the East. And we've documented this plenty of times before. Impossible light moving across the Metro 1 and 2 apartments while these demons are stalking on the roads and the highways. That was Guerrero that I documented doing that. All right? This is the entity that's engaging. I want you to look at this because this is ritualistic. This is psychopathic pacing under the fake sun. Amazon's here in the afternoon. I'm going to attach that video. This is a demon in a police vehicle. He's going to prison. 1614329. This is P.O.C. That is vehicle 10:45, and that's impossible light that you saw beside the vehicle. Okay, this is P.O.C. and this is pacing. This is criminal activity with the city hall, criminal activity with the city hall, criminal activity with the so-called police department. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and this is the entity that's engaged in what is criminal defamation. Okay, while I'm here in the afternoon, this is speaking to what shall be an immediate basis of prison. Not only the people of the state that are stalking with police that are kidnapping you together, but the entity that's criminally defaming you, and that's what the entity is doing. I.E. buses is engaging in criminal monitoring because the police are gang stalking. This is prison. 1614325, and Amazon Prime is gang stalking at the same venue. This is 8FJJ011. This is the P.O.C. The fake son is moving over me while you're looking at a stalker. And this is mental instability that's simultaneously being exposed. This is pacing. They're all mentally ill. These are demons. That's not sunlight. That's not sunlight. It's not even the sun. This is P.O.C. That's a demon. And this is the entity that engaged in criminal defamation because they are mentally ill, engaged in state targeting by virtue of defaming my character. That's the P.O.C. and he is going to prison, and so is Paul Leon. License, it doesn't get any more direct than this. The criminal activity is at the City Hall, like it is at the Ontario Police Department. This is P.O.C. 8AOL082. And this is the entity that's engaging in the lawlessness, the stalking by helicopter, the doing so at nightfall. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct. Yeah, I'll get out the street in a minute. This is P.O.C. Jay Montez that's gang stalking on B Street in Euclid with helicopter. That's the same Jay Montez that I've already documented. This is P.O.C. That's audible activity. All right, this is the entity that's monitoring while you're speaking. Oh, don't make sure you get out the street. That's audible activity he's monitoring. Okay, the fake son is remaining while I.E. buses, all these demons, they're monitoring. City of Ontario, that's what it is. Anthesis, you already know that they're gang stalking. I documented them at Upland Public Library gang stalking. This is P.O.C., this is City of Ontario, and I want you to see this. You know, I want to be clear, why aren't there, Southwest Airlines is flying over there? Because it's called relevant positioning. This is the City of Ontario, and this is the municipality that's going to be federally prosecuted comprehensively. P.O.C., United Airlines is the entity that is gang stalking and coming from the same supposed Ontario airport, same location, distinct location regarding Southwest Airlines, United Airlines that's stalking me at the Economy Inn, where the City of Ontario employees are also gang stalking, where the City of Ontario Police Department are also gang stalking, and the entities engaged in this public corruption in plain sight. And understand that these are demons that are forced to be mentally ill in front of you because I've already exposed them. So this is not the entity engaged in. They're humiliated. They're very much embarrassed. Remember the entity that stalked me by helicopter every day and every night? See, Jay Montez is going to prison and he's mentally ill, and so are the people of the state. 5MRU359, this is pacing. Southwest Airlines is engaged in that criminal conspiracy to commit murder. So is the entity. Remember yesterday at 9:29 a.m., I'm already at the Upland Public Library, and the entity is stalking me on video because I'm capturing damning evidence, which Jay Montez is thereby prosecuted with, okay? The entities engaged in this conduct while they are gang stalking at a government building. The Ontario City Hall, where the entities engaged in vagina monitoring. Okay, this is where the fake sun is also present in the middle of the afternoon, and it is present in the evening as well. I've documented it right here in the evening after, I believe, 5 p.m. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and that ongoing pattern of conduct. These are demons that engage in that because they're already guilty. So understand how that is a threat translated to the nation. The entity that is found guilty and proven, these are demons that never wanted to be exposed, and they had a sense of pride because they were right in front of your face and you didn't know it. Now that's gone. So now that the entity is exposed like that, understand that this is the spirit of Satan. The spirit of Satan that is highly egotistical. That egotistical mindset and behavior, conduct, is that which is translated into murdering people. Okay? This makes you feel better. This helps you express your hostility while you engage in what is criminal acts against those that think that they're exposing you, or think that they're saying something about you, or think that they're going to exercise any authority over you when you are entirely in the wrong, and you are already subject to it. This is the end. That's what you just saw right now. That was pacing. The series of vehicles here, psychopathic pacing under the fake sun. They're all demons. This is hundreds of demons that surround me right now, and they're all monitoring. And then the entity where it's already over me in Upland, California, this is the crime scene where Jay Montez is stalking, where the fake sun is remaining in the afternoon, and the demons are engaged in blatant criminal activity in front of your face, which they are forced to. And not only are they forced to do it, they're doing so in a manner which you need to know they are humiliated by. They're humiliated by. And this is why the entities engage in inherently incriminating things such as stalking by helicopters, Recall what you saw. The entity is stalking me by helicopter at 12 o'clock in the morning. The entity is engaged in what is targeting me specifically, stalking me by helicopter in an entirely different city where this sun is not going to be over the city hall at the same time. And it's not going to be in 20 minutes from now while I am already at the Upland Public Library. It's 9:20 a.m., okay? The entity is maintaining this environment where you're looking at them being forced to show you that they're all mentally ill, and they are all indeed engaging in exactly what I've already proven as a matter of evidence. And that is relevant with regard to mental instability. We've exceeded what is proving guilt. Okay, this is the entity that's being committed. This is an unlawful threat as a terrorist. What Jay Montez is doing, what the city of Ontario is doing, what the people of the state are doing, what Inland Empire Buses, which is the city of Ontario, what they're doing. And this is an entity that is mentally ill. What United Airlines and Southwest Airlines is doing, there's a federal response regarding treason, regarding federal RICO, regarding the sex offender that is engaging in the pattern of conduct and doing so with impunity, with the intent to obstruct justice. While you're witnessing, you weren't stalking somebody that didn't know, you were stalking somebody that knew, and in the face of them exercising their rights to have you not engage in that, Southwest Airlines, the Ontario Police Department, the City of Ontario, the mayor himself, the venue, the people, the population, they are demonstrating the threat that they pose to this nation. This is why you're getting to martial law. This is why and how. Don't forget about Amazon Prime that's gang stalking. Amazon Prime that had anything to say. Okay, that demon was talking, remember? She was saying something and it doesn't matter. It was audible activity. Remember the impossible light activity that I captured after that video? My shadow appearing, cast it out onto the wall behind that little cubby, impossible light, where they're out here forced to be in front of you, stalking in front of the whole world, stalking one person. You are mentally ill, and these are the demons. This is the Nephilim. This is the P.O.C, and it's associated with United Airlines, Southwest Airlines, the municipalities, because the City of Ontario is showing you what every city in the state is doing. What is the municipality along with the government body, the city hall, the police department, the entity that's maintaining that pattern of conduct and doing so while I'm also maintaining another angle of analysis. The fake sun, not the natural environment, is remaining over me in a different city. And they're engaging in what is surveillance of your genitalia. These are not humans. And non-humans are unfit to be in law enforcement. They're unfit to be operating commercial planes. They're unfit to be in the military. They're unfit to be in any position of government where they are going to do nothing other than spread that corruption around and make it possible that is facilitated amongst a people. That's what Paul Leon is. That's the threat that he poses. And it's going to be a matter of prosecuting him. He's not being removed from office conveniently. And this is evidence that is supporting that. It's mandating, it's requiring it. This is P.O.C. That was psychopathic behavior. This is what they're doing. These are demons, and this is their objective to do this. And you see it clearly when the entity starts flying in circles around me by helicopter. This is what they're all doing. You accomplish that when you just have one body after another walking by. Do it when you have one vehicle after another driving by. Doing so in opposite directions. They're pacing around me under the fake sun. They're psychotic. The mentally ill are calling themselves the Ontario Police Department. This is P.O.C. All right, this is the entity that's doing that, and this is the video documentation speaking to the entity that's keeping the fake sun at this venue, doing so until the end of the day, doing so while they are engaging in what is the level of threat that they pose to national security as a gang stalking municipality that has conspired my murder, defamed my character as a government act, and is doing so with impunity while you are admittedly doing, I want to be clear, Alan D. WAPNER, the airport authority, the FAA, that is gang stalking while these airlines are flying over, this is the entity that is admitting to guilt. This is P.O.C. That's the impossible light activity while the entity is engaged in that. And that's exactly the pattern of conduct of demons. It's shared by the Ontario Police. And the entity that is exposing to you that they are demons, do not forget that. Don't forget it. This looks like, okay? Satan doesn't have a race, clearly doesn't have an age, dirt old, engaging in what is gang stalking, working for the city. And that's lawlessness that's shared with gang stalking police officers. That's what you just saw. All right? And this is the entity that's in this system where they don't speak about it, they engage in it. And don't forget, because the entity that's showing you this now is going to want and relying on you not remembering it, not taking note, not observing it. But you see it. This is the P.O.C. That's impossible light activity, and that's terrorism by the City of Ontario. 1704101, just like Securitas stalking with impossible light activity. And in that one, the light activity appeared at the top of the building. This demon has impossible light activity swiping across the ground while they are engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct, and they're paid employees of the city, speaking to public corruption, where the gang stalkers are delivering packages to the gang stalking municipality. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:24 a.m. That is an elaborate example demonstrating mental instability that is necessitating martial law in order to cut off, demarcate what is a threat to the rest of the country. All right, this is an entity that's engaged in serial killings, child rapings. This is a criminal enterprise, and they're engaged in treason with those that are outside of the United States. And this is what for example, the Ontario Police Department have engaged in failing to depict me as one that is mentally ill. In fact, they've proven that they were just stalking me, and they thought that stalking me and lying on my character would be sufficient to accomplish that. Not only did that not work, as I'm proving that they're criminally monitoring, but you're looking at the entity that's inherently corrupt, because criminal activity by a police department, by a city, will never establish mental illness for anybody. That's not the practice of medicine, which is speaking to a system. Gang stalkers like David Siegler. All right, this is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:25 a.m. under the fake sun at the Ontario City Hall. P.O.C. All right, what you will see is a vagina monitor wanting to rush in to be next to me while access to my vagina is underway inside of the bathroom. These are the homosexuals who are not humans. So understand, homosexuality is of a demonic spirit. Contrary to what demons want you to believe, that it's a matter of free speech, and it's a matter, well, it is a matter of free speech as far as the law is concerned. While the government cannot tell you who you can sleep with and be sexually involved with, the Lord God has spoken the truth about those that practice such things not inheriting the kingdom of God, and it's because it is demonic. And these demons that are gang stalking engage in homosexual behaviors, and pertaining to my vagina, they're engaged in psychopathic pacing, just like you saw in the parking lot, or what you listened to in the podcast as I'm dictating and describing what the vagina monitor Jay Montez and the vagina monitors of the city of Ontario are engaging in, which is underway while this demon paces into the bathroom stall, and she also hustles really quickly out of the bathroom before she's able to be documented, because she knows that I'm engaged in keeping tabs on those that like to monitor my vagina, who are closeted homosexuals, which you should be aware of, not because you hate gay people, but because you're recognizing demons who are monitoring. It's of a spirit. And there are sex offenders that are keeping your genitalia under surveillance, and that is underway, which you already know, on the outside of the city hall. It's underway on the inside of the city hall, while this homosexual is wearing a floor-length orange dress and has her hair halfway pulled back, and is gang stalking by going in and out of the bathroom stall to engage in activity creation and running out, not washing her filthy hands. This is P.O.C. It's 9:31 a.m. with regard to this Ontario City Hall engaging in the perpetual sex offense. Understand, the perpetual sex offense is no ordinary sex offense. The perpetual sex offense is that which will cause the entity to be subject to federal prison, because it's triggering federal group stalking and monitoring. The sex offense is underway. Their entity is monitoring you under the fake sun with engineer light. You just showed that ongoing banner of mentally ill stalking, and then you're in the bathroom. And this is the entity that's, again, they're going to be subject to martial law, so they can monitor each other's genitalia. They can engage in what is taking each other out. They can attack each other and focus their abnormal and unhuman, non-human impulses on each other, where everybody knows who they are and where they're at, and they can't harm other people. It is currently 9:31 a.m. This is bathroom monitoring amongst the homosexuals at the Ontario City Hall, where the entity is keeping the fake sun right now. The entity is stalking me right now by helicopter in Upland, California, at the same time that they're monitoring my vagina while I'm in the Ontario City Hall bathroom. Okay, it's not happening in any natural environment. This is speaking to identifying the P.O.C., where I'm showing two distinct crime scenes. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:32 a.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. I'm going to show you the entity that is stalking. This is impossible light activity. The fake sun is at the Upland Public Library. This is the entity that is engaging in psychological torture, and is doing so while the entity is maintaining the fake sun. This is P.O.C. Jay Montez is gang stalking at B Street and Euclid with helicopter activity, as I documented in the morning. And this is impossible light activity, which is indicative of the fake sun. He's going to prison. Okay, this is impossible. This is targeting. And he's also bearing a gun while he's stalking, and he's doing so with the rest of the demons that are inside of the venue, engaging in the P.O.C. This is my shadow. This is projected light. Right, and this is the entity meeting me as I walk outside of the bathroom, where they're engaged in vagina monitoring, and the entity stalking by helicopter at the same time yesterday. This is the gang stalking by the Ontario City Hall. P.O.C. This is the prosecution of Paul Leon. Alrighty, and this is the entity that's engaging in stalking with impossible light activity. Jay Montez is going to prison. See you later. That's P.O.C. He's going to prison. The entity is engaged in the sex offense of monitoring a bathroom, and this is what Paul Leon is running. This is impossible light activity. That's absolutely impossible. And this is not why cities and municipalities are given money. It's for criminal activity, and they're doing so conspicuously, wanting to stalk me by the police while I'm coming inside. Guess what? You're going to prison. And it's literally as easy as the employees at the Ontario City Hall. This is the city clerk. That's a gang stalker.
The impossible light activity is testifying to it. The entities engaged in this, while you're looking at them, they're being federally prosecuted. These are terrorists. Alrighty, and this is a terrorist leader and is very much aware of, he's literally inside of the city hall gang stalking with the mayor. He might as well be out here pacing around me under the fake sun. He doesn't need to because the people of the state are maintaining monitoring as a system. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, that's the entity that engages in those tactics. You want to employ those tactics, you're going to be committed. You're not just going to prison, you're going to be committed. There is no iteration of the natural environment that's going to result in this light activity. It's not going to happen. All right, this is the entity that also has a fake sun setting at the same venue, and this is a crime scene. This is not a city hall. This is criminal activity. This is public corruption, and that's the city hall engaging in psychological torture. This is how they don't say anything to you. They don't look at you while they're gang stalking you. He's going to prison for that. He's not going to prison alone. And Jay Montez is a documented stalker with helicopter on B Street and Laurel. Excuse me, B Street. Yeah, B Street and Laurel. It's already on the record. This is the entity that's maintaining it. This is not sunlight that's on the inside of that city hall. And it's not sunlight that's moving across me. That's the demons of the city of Ontario, like Kevin, who are going to prison. That's engaging what is a battery with impossible light. 1693746. These are hostile demons, gang stalking with their co-defendant, Jay Montez. All the gang members are getting locked up, though. There's no retaliation when you're being prosecuted. What's going to happen is you're going in a straitjacket. You're going to go in those padded rooms. You're going to be talking to that lady taking that medication. This is the P.O.C. 1045. He's going to prison. And so are the people of the state. The employees of City Hall, of the Ontario City Hall, they're going to prison. And it includes Paul Leon. Okay? You see this lawlessness? The entity is stalking me by helicopter in a video yesterday. This is the criminal activity by a police department, criminal activity by a city hall, the government building itself, where they can go and engage in any sort of criminal conduct like this, right? Where it's a matter of public corruption. This is relevant to what is the secret investigation that the federal government has been maintaining. They're watching Jay Montez. They're watching me document Jay Montez's co-defendants. Demons that are psychotic, targeting me with impossible light. You're going to be committed behind that. That's P.O.C. doing it again. He's going to be committed behind that. P.O.C. psychopathic pacing. These are demons. They're all stalking, and they're all very hostile. They're all monitoring my vagina, including Jay Montez, tracking my steps, waiting for me to walk out so he can be in front of me bearing a gun. This is Satan that is scared of me, that's engaging what is stalking me, wearing a uniform. I'm going to take that uniform and I'm going to have you locked up. That's what's happening, Satan. Satan is going by the name Jay Montez, and Satan is maintaining a department called the Ontario Police, and it is being put out of business. This is P.O.C. This is a prosecution of a gang stalking mayor. This is what Bill Velto is subject to in UPLAND. Stalking me by helicopter, equally terrorizing conduct. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:39 a.m. The entity is going to be prosecuted. I'm going to attach to this video the entity stalking me 24 hours ago at 9:30 in the morning by helicopter, because they're triggered by my screenshot showing the impossible. The impossible, which is speaking to the mental illness of those that are operating City of Ontario vehicles, stalking with impossible light under a light source that is not also over the Upland City Hall. But that's what I captured at St. George Catholic Church at 9:29 a.m. captured on Sunday, and at 9:29 a.m. at the Upland City Hall. And as I take a screenshot, the entity is stalking me by helicopter conspicuously, and doing so while that fake sun is not in Ontario, not over the City Hall, not anywhere near it, not even in this direction. It's in Upland, California, over my head. And that video is going to be attached for the federal imprisonment of those that are stalking while being a part of a police department, which is terrorism. You see these demons at the same time? This is synchronized stalking. The demon possessed engage in this under the fake sun. P.O.C. All right, conspiring murder, stalking. MU999, that's a handicap plate. He's stalking with the military that's stalking by planes over my head at what is 4th Street and Euclid, doing so under the fake sun that's now in motion north of Euclid Avenue, whereas yesterday I'm already inside, and the mentally ill, including the military that are stalking by planes and helicopters, are already keeping the crime scene over me at the Upland Public Library. And this is that P.O.C. of the mentally ill that are obsessively stalking me and engaging in things such as stalking in bathrooms and wearing police uniforms while they are stalking. This is a comprehensive prosecution of a mentally ill population. This is P.O.C. Stalking on the roads and the highways is that which is going to remove this entity from being able to exercise a privilege. It's not a right, and they have lost this privilege. It's being revoked while they are engaged in the conspiracy to murder by stalking, using vehicles which are dangerous weapons, while they're engaging in the sex offense, the perpetual sex offense to criminally monitor and furtherance of murder. P.O.C. This is terrorism that they're engaging in while the military flies over my head and you drive by me, stalking under the fake sun on behalf of the government that's conspiring my murder with you, through you. This is P.O.C. at what is, by the way, 1102 North Euclid Avenue. This is P.O.C.
is the entity that is admitting to the mental illness of Jay Montes. Jay Montes is severely psychopathic. While they're sharing a pattern of conduct 9BQF1, impossible light activities hitting the tree, while they're stalking me, flying over my head by helicopter, engaging what is admitting to them being stalkers, them being the people of the state. All right, this is the military that has been engaged in serial killings, child rapings, kidnappings, the entity that's defaming your character and maintaining what is a criminal surveillance system. This is what Jay Montes is engaging in by stalking me inside of the Ontario City Hall. He's psychotic. He's stalking me. All right, and that's a whole population of creatures. These aren't even humans. Creatures are not supposed to be on the roads and the highways. Creatures are engaging in murder, and then they maintain a whole fraudulent insurance system. This is how obsessed with me they are. The inferior, P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that. You see the light activity across the tree? This is what's going to be removed from the roads and the highways. This is mentally ill behavior. 9FGF668, 9TEA925, the demon possessed. This is what was operating the golf cart, calling itself a Securitas security guard. This is what was driving an Ontario police vehicle, calling himself a police officer. Jay Montes is going to be committed. You're not just going to prison for criminal activity. You're going to be committed. It is the admission regarding your outward demonstration of severe mental instability. That's a national security threat. While you thought you were going to get away with killing and defaming me. That's what Jay Montes is guilty of. Just giving you one example. This is the fake sun at 1108 North Euclid Avenue. This is P.O.C. at 4th Street, where the entity is maintaining the fake sun in the middle of the afternoon, where Chaffee High School is an example of the entity that is stalking through their demon-possessed, sex-offending underage minors that are gang stalking in California. All right. In fact, they give birth to maintain an ongoing population of demons monitoring spirits. That's why creatures are giving birth in California. That's why they're coming from other parts of the country, by the way, and giving birth in the states to maintain placement here. It's called immigration. All right. The entity is engaging in this. This is P.O.C. This is what the entity wants. This is what the entity wants you to know about. The demon possessed is what Satan is exposing to you. Satan is inherently defeated, and there is no winning when you're admittedly stalking an American citizen by helicopter. It is the admission to being mentally ill, not just being engaged in criminal activity. This is P.O.C. 1108 North Euclid Avenue. This is the entity stalking while I'm going to Upland, California, where the sun is already over. Everybody that's being prosecuted in Upland, California, P.O.C. What you're witnessing is the outcry of the demon-possessed who are psychopathic, and that psychopathic disorder that is shared amongst them because it is a demonic spirit that equally possesses all of them. They are possessed by legions of demons. This is what gives you the ability to create impossible light activity while you drive by me. This is what compels you to fly over my head for the second time. Remember, I documented on video where Mickey is gang stalking at Ovid Family Community Library while I'm referring to her, who is going to prison, and I've exposed her mental illness while she's engaged in trying to target me with the entity that's also flying over my head by helicopter. While that fake sun is remaining over my head, which is not at the Ovid Family Community Library, and it's also not at the Upland Public Library. This is the entity that is obsessed with me. That obsession is based on an obsession with wanting to commit murder, okay? While they are also sexually obsessed with me. This is what you are applying to the person that is demonic, okay, that is a criminal, but his name is Jay Montes. You are able to identify, and you can diagnose, you can recognize what is wrong with Jay Montes while he tries to hide it wearing a police uniform. He tries to control it by keeping his back to me while he is maintaining what is a calm demeanor and in the presence of other people where he's seemingly on the surface engaged in something that has nothing to do with me. It's in the engineered light. It's under the fake sun. It's while the entity is stalking me by planes and helicopters. And this is a direct indication regarding the mental illness for which Jay Montes is being committed. Every gang stalking police officer is being subject to mental examinations. This is federal policy. This is the entity that's engaged in that. So while the entity, what you're hearing, this is absurd psychotic conduct. But you need to understand mental illness is of a spirit, just like sexual perversion is of a spirit. An entity that has an impulse and ongoing addiction to abusing you, that's a demonic spirit. Is that the entity likes to attribute, oh, well, I have a traumatic past and I had this harm and I haven't healed. Sure, it's a demonic spirit. It's a demonic spirit. This is speaking to what is your condition. And if you don't repent, you're not going to inherit the kingdom of God. You're not mincing words. That is not going to enter into the gates of heaven. It's not. It's a spirit. It's a spirit that is possessing you. And this is relevant with regard to what is the exact same analysis that applies to Jay Montez, who was mentally ill. He is stalking me as an entity by helicopter at 1124 North Euclid Avenue and flying over my head by helicopter at 1108 North Euclid Avenue under the fake sun. While then the co-defendants, all the demons on the roads and the highways that are stalking, this is psychotic. And as they're stalking, light is sweeping across the tree. Remember when I'm talking about David Siegler? And the entity engaged in what is flying, and that's sitting on the record. And then the demons are scared to death when I'm at Upland Public Library publishing it. And then they're engaging in what is that gang stalking conduct together. Scared to death about their criminal conduct, the fact of their obsession, their ongoing addiction to following me around, their sexual obsession with me based on violating my privacy and you keeping tabs on my vagina. While you're engaging in that and you're stalking me in an Ontario City Hall with a gun on your hip, and a uniform and a badge on you, you are being committed. I'm literally going to use the video evidence of the helicopter stalking, and that's going to be juxtaposed in a cinematic production regarding the federal prosecution of the mentally ill going by the name Ontario Police Department to be disbanded, and Jay Montez, one of many who are going to prison and are going to be put in mental institutions, in addition to the people of the state that I've documented by the hundreds, by license plate, sharing the same mental illness. How do you have a population that's engaging in that supernatural conduct together? This is the Nephilim. It's the P.O.C. And the entities engaging in this while they're outside walking their dogs, while they're outside watering their lawns, while they're outside operating City of Ontario vehicles. Don't forget about that video I captured before I left and walked up the street. Those animals are gang stalking on an ongoing basis, and they are hostile because they're inferior to me. They're hostile because they lost in what was never a competition. You cannot defame me, spirit of Satan. You are beneath me. I'm telling you what you are. You cannot dictate anything about my identity. My identity, which is also established while I prosecute and embarrass you, including while you're stalking me in a helicopter. These are demons who are psychotic. The only thing that would openly expose their own issues like that are those that are not human. And you need to be aware regarding what is a threat in this country. It is not exaggerated. I cannot make it up. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity at the same location. You are not engaged in landscaping. You're also not staying in this country if you're immigrants. You're being deported. All right. So the entity's engaging in that, and everybody is exposed by that. You are not delivering the mail, demon wearing a USPS uniform. You're not working in the library in a natural environment and nothing is happening. All the demons that work at the Upland Public Library who are engaging in a pattern of conduct, speaking to stalking, not working and minding your business and just walking around. It's like they're all monitoring spirits. They're all pacing around. It's like Pac-Man. When you are going ping pong back and forth, it's all synchronized stalking. They're all pacing around me inside of that venue. This is what they're doing outside while the absurdity, okay, literally the walking, talking ad, the gang stalking ad of mental illness. These are serial killers. These are the people of the state that are hysterical with regard to criminal conduct that they don't want you to know about. Their criminal conduct is a direct indicator regarding their lust for having sex with children, their lust for engaging in criminal acts, violating other people because they like to get the reaction from the people that they violate. They sit back and they are even sexually aroused by it. They sit around masturbating and fantasizing about the ways that they will violate you, including by merely just stalking you with impossible light, which is not getting them any power here. And while the entity is necessarily doing that because you need to see it, you need to see it because they are going to be subject to martial law. You are going to be involuntarily committed. You are going to be deported and banned from this country. You are going to be subject to what is a federal prosecution as a terrorist that is mentally ill. Okay, on what is literally watch lists. This is the entity that's engaged, that they've exposed themselves as such, and it is Jay Montez. Just giving you an example. That's what this is relevant to. This isn't separate. You don't have, okay, well, I documented that there, and now I'm going here, and this is something else. No, this is the ongoing ceaseless pattern of conduct, and Jay Montez showed you his role while he is stalking me at a government building wearing a uniform in a city-issued vehicle, meaning the government is paying him to engage in criminal activity, which he derives pleasure from. He's a psychopath. That's gang stalking me by helicopter, flying in circles. What about the people inside of 1108 North Euclid Avenue? These people don't care about these demons that are going to prison. This is why they crash planes and kill all the people of the state after one person that they're really focused on that's a threat to them. These demons are disposable. All they do is go around stalking, flashing light all over the place, monitoring. They're monitoring spirits. They're hellbound. And as far as the government's concerned that has control over them already, they are absolutely disposable. They throw them out like used diapers. This is the entity that's engaged in it. And this is also why they are exposing to the world how psychotic they are in California. It's an entire population. When you are on the street and everybody at that intersection is engaging in the same thing, that's an impossible coincidence. Do you not understand that? You are able to reasonably and actually make a conclusion about the population. When I've documented that for a term of years, it is impossible for it to happen once. It's happening hundreds of times. So that you can be clear, it is not a mistake. It is not an exaggeration. It is a pattern of conduct. And the pattern of conduct is speaking to demons that want to consume your bodily fluids. They want to eat your organs. All right. They want to engage in what is drinking your blood. All right. And engage in what is celebrating as they take your life. And they do it in honor to Satan. They are not sane while they are stalking me in a helicopter. And they're doing so out of what is frustration. That frustration still doesn't give them the ability to reason. You're going to prison for this. You know this, right? You know that you're going to prison for this, right? This is an entity that's doing so while you are being watched while you're stalking me. This is the entity that's engaged in that. You're being watched stalking with impossible light. They're looking at you as the creatures that you are. You're being watched while you're stalking, following me around in planes and in helicopters. So this is what the whole city is providing money for. That costs money. That's how important the entity's gang stalking is. This is how invested when now you've got an ongoing open investigation that's been going on for longer than they've been aware of. Longer than when I began speaking about it. Because it's a secret, but it's not a secret. It's not a secret. It's not a secret that they're psychotic. It's not a secret that they're demons. None of that is a secret. That's what you're mindful of. Look at the face of Jay Montez. Look at his behavior. Look at what the demons are doing in that parking lot in the City of Ontario vehicles. What they're doing driving on and off that parking lot. What Southwest Airlines and United Airlines are doing flying over my head. Where I'm located outside of a government building, a city hall. While the entity is stalking me, pursuing me, flying over the top of my head by helicopter. And then a whole bunch of demons, a band of vagina monitors are stalking, sharing in what is the impossible over and over and over again. Impossible light activity over and over and over again while they're driving in their cars. That's impossible to happen. Just like you saw on the golf cart. The mop head on the Securitas golf cart. Impossible light activity flying across the top of the building outside. These are demons. And the creatures that are non-humans are obsessed with me. A higher being. A higher being meaning I am a child of God. The Holy Spirit is in me. It is inherently superior to demonic spirits that are creatures possessing the people that say these are dead people. They're the living dead. And they're disposable to the government that's monitoring through them and with them. They're disposable. They die every day. And it's a government action. They're maintaining an illusion of a whole criminal justice system, a privacy, and the American dream in the U.S. It's a product that Satan has concocted. And the people that say demons across the globe are coming to the U.S. to engage in it. And they do so under the impression that they're going to make a lot of money. The United States is supposedly the most successful at this. And that is no more. This is the P.O.C. This is why demons outside of the United States know who I am, and I don't know who they are. I know who you are in the spirit. But that's why they know who I am, because they're demons. And I'm speaking to them. I'm speaking directly to them. The Holy Spirit is calling them out. And they're fearful. Because I'm speaking directly to them and I've never seen their face. And they know who I am because they're demons. They're demons. And I want to be clear, there are those that are outside of the U.S. You're going to prison as surely as these demons are stalking me by helicopter, and you didn't have the wherewithal to figure out how that's going to get down to you. Very detailed, very thorough. Christ is that you're being targeted by Christ himself, who knows exactly where you are, what you're doing, what you said, where you did it, and what your intentions are. And you are being prosecuted. You are going to prison. You don't have to be in Ontario. You don't have to be in California. You don't have to be in the United States. You're going to prison for stealing from me. You're going to prison for gang stalking. You're going to prison for gang stalking, and you are gang stalking when you're financing it. You're gang stalking when you stole my money. You're gang stalking when you stole my intellectual property. You're gang stalking. It's a term of art. This is how you are targeting. Gang stalking is committed by the government. The government that's following me up and down Euclid Avenue, flying over the top of my head. These ignoramuses who are lower beings, they're non-humans, who are inferior, are also inferior in this prosecution. You are, a population is, a government entity is admitting to targeting someone that is maintaining a body of evidence, speaking to an unfathomable and unprecedented pattern of harassing and targeting in unthinkable ways, such as it with planes and with helicopters and as departments. And Jay Montez is engaging in that while he keeps his back to me under the fake sun and in the engineer light, and where the entity is stalking by helicopters, and you're talking about less than an hour ago, as though he's separate and distinct from that. He is not, and he is delusional. Jay Montes is going to prison. And Jay Montes, this is federal policy. Because you're wearing that uniform, you are subject to very specific mental examinations, which is gang stalkers, period. But those that are wearing police uniforms, they get a license to kill. You're going to be subject to mandatory mental examinations. This is P.O.C. It is currently, while the entity engaged in that, that's on video. This is on video. It's prosecuting everybody. Like I said, Tracy Banks is going to prison. Eric Spitz is going to prison. These demons that perjure my character are going to prison. These demons on the airport board calling yourself the president of Airport Authority, Alan D. Wapner, this demon-possessed Jew is going to prison. These demons calling yourself a CEO, Otif El Khadi, and if he's not even a natural-born citizen, ship this enemy back to wherever he came from. Send him on the next thing steaming because he's a gang stalker. The FAA is engaged in the pattern of conduct while helicopters are able to follow me around, and the FAA doesn't know about that. This entity is idiotic. They're fools because they are more obsessed with me than they are logical and reasonable. They're psychopaths, and they're going to be in a courtroom like you're going to take them seriously. Like you don't see the creatures, the reptiles that they are, stalking with impossible light. Where, pray tell, do they do that? Where does that happen? You're not even humans. You're not even humans, and you've exposed your own hand. As you should, because you're inferior creatures. You're inferior to me, which is why you're stalking, inherently following. That's what you do when you're copying. You are already behind. You're under my feet. You already admit to guilt while you keep gang stalking at this point. You don't even have an objective, and it's beyond pathetic with regard to what you're supposedly representing, the kingdom of darkness. Demons are losers. Satan is a loser. Satan is humiliated, and he is pathetic. And so are all of his minions, who are out here being exposed as vagina monitors. You're out here, you're sex offenders, and so are the demons that you give birth to. That's the truth about you. You give birth to sex offenders. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:37 a.m. That's the entity that's stalking. I'm at the intersection of 5th Street and Euclid. And you already know that they're stalking. This is why you don't go around doing that. You already have a federal case. You're subject to federal prison. 7 TLC 097. Two fat Caucasian females gang stalking with the government that's engaged in the pattern of conduct, stalking by helicopter. And they're both cursed. If those demons find anybody to procreate with them, if anybody would be willing to do that, it would necessarily be another demon like them, another creature like them. You're talking about those cursed ones. They give birth to demons that are sex offenders. That's all they do. They're cursed. Nobody cares that you don't like it. You're the one that's out here stalking with impossible light activity. You give birth to sex offenders. You give birth to those that are monitoring genitalia. And that's what you are, and that's the place that you maintain. Stalking me in helicopters is an admission to inferiority, and it's pathetic. And in a federal case, you already lose. And you're going to pay me. How about that? You're going to prison, and you're going broke. You're going broke. Your children are going to be broke. Your spouse is going to be broke. You're not keeping any money. You're not getting any retirement. This is why I'm documenting you, fool. You're giving me everything. Every moment that I'm being gang stalked, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. Corporations are not going to handle your bill. You're going to pay for it. Stalking with impossible light, you're going to be committed. You're losing your freedom. You're being prosecuted. You're done with that career field, which is not even a real career field. It's a guise for surveillance. It's over with. You're a bunch of stalkers. And you're sore losers. It's pathetic. This is why you get disrespected so hard. This is why you're so humiliated. Because you're so pathetic. You're not even a formidable adversary, one that is targeting me because you're inherently intimidated by me, which is your admission to who I am relative to who you are. You're a loser. This is the P.O.C. That's what's stalking me in a helicopter. And Jay Montes, because I said so, is going to prison. How about that? You're going to federal prison. That's your reward. You're co-defendant. You're so bright. You're co-defendant, and the rest of your co-defendants are putting you where you belong. You belong in a cage. Where you can't sniff out and sit around masturbating while you're monitoring other women's vaginas. And then you go home and you're a homosexual. You don't even like women. While you're keeping my vagina under surveillance and you're acting like you're happily married with 2 kids. You're a demon. You're a creature. You're a homosexual. You are a stalker as a lifestyle. You're not even humans. All they're doing is stalking and monitoring. That's all these demons are doing. That's it. And because I expose that, now the entity is engaging in what is wasting money. And that money, every dime that you're wasting, is speaking to what is going to be relevant to enhancement to charges, time in prison, and what are damages. That's it. It's all boomeranging to you. It's all your suffering. It's not mine. I'm the one announcing to everybody what shall be for you who engaged in this at any time ever, and what you're never going to do again. You couldn't. You have failed so miserably, and you're going out so sad. It's pathetic. This is the P.O.C. This has never been elite. These are child rapists that merely engage in what are murders, and then they're cowards that try to cover it up. But when they can't do that, and you see me approach them like a competent investigator that's maintaining what is facts, that they can't deal with, that they're scared, they're petrified of. They sit there acting like they don't see me, acting like you're a coward. That's why. You're a liar. You're not elite, and you're also not a gangster. You're not courageous. You're not brave. You're none of those things. I've stripped you of all those masks. There's nothing courageous or brave about stalking someone. You're a loser. Who does that? This is the P.O.C. That's what's behind stalking me in a helicopter. And guess what? Everybody at the Upper Public Library, all those employees are going to prison. They're sitting there gang stalking while the entity's maintaining a fake sun over the little cubby area where I'm at. That African-American male, the bald head, stalking by helicopter, pacing around. He's a psychopath trying to calmly engage in psychopathic pacing, walking in slow motion. He's a stalker, stalking me while the entity's molesting me with impossible lie. All of those facts, everything that I documented. And then the entity is the next day. What environment are they in? Because it's not the natural environment. And what mindset are you in? It's like you forgot. You're so blinded by who I am while you're documented being a gang stalker. This is a gang stalker is a sex offender. A gang stalker is a demon. A gang stalker is a criminal. That's why you're not staying in office. That's why you're not staying in whatever industry where you pose a threat to the public. That's why you're not staying in this country if you were granted a privilege to be here. That's why you're not keeping access to children. That's why you're subject to martial law. You are a threat to everyone, including yourself. This is that P.O.C. It's so pathetic that for you to show anyone at any time, it's not even about, I won a long time ago. This isn't even about, it's about you don't even have enough dignity to at least act like you don't sit up slobbering and thinking and fantasizing about me every moment of the day. You don't love your kids. Those aren't even humans. You're not concerned about minding your business or having a job. It's all about me. You worship me. That's pathetic. I would never admit that to any other person. You've admitted it to the whole world. The whole world, every business, every location, every tourist attraction, every public official, every neighborhood, everything associated with California is tainted by this. It's pathetic. It is so pathetic. I would never do that. That's why you're doing what you're doing, because you're demons, you're lower beings, you're hellbound, you're the living dead. Sitting up stalking somebody that you cannot stop, nor can you silence. And you are going to prison, Jay Montez. You're just another one that's biting the dust today on another day. You're just another example. Because, I mean, every single last one of them demons doing that, you're getting locked up. This is P.O.C. It's currently 10:42 a.m.
Okay, the serial stalker, this is the old white male that's engaged in gang stalking, as I captured at the Upland Public Library where the fake son was present, and only in the specific environment where the mentally ill are caught as that mentally ill and are caught engaging in what is a matter of extraordinary public corruption. That's the only time where you would ever be able to even hear of anything like having an environment where the sun engaged in a grand departure, because there was no sun in Upland while it remained over me in Ontario. This is the entity that maintains a specific environment that is a crime scene where they're monitoring. And this old white male that is identified as a serial stalker, just like he is yesterday in the morning, where the fake sun is over me at 9:29 a.m. and the entity begins stalking by helicopter. This is the entity that's engaged in that today, where Jay Montez is stalking at the Ontario City Hall. But nonetheless, this same serial stalker is gang stalking on the inside of the Upland Public Library, where the fake sun is still over this library in Upland, and it arrived after schedule yesterday, based on my schedule. So this is the fake sun that is idiosyncratic. It is personalized to me while this serial stalker is engaged in monitoring. He's engaged in serial stalking. This is harassment. This is targeting, psychological torture that the employees, including Adam Tuckerman, are all engaging in with that government that was stalking me by helicopter as I'm walking north of Euclid Avenue. This is that state system. So the entity is engaging in that. And while I am publishing evidence regarding gang stalking, and you can see the mental illness of the entity that is stalking in the Southwest Airlines plane, referring to video evidence in 2026-0512 and 082249. That is video evidence captured May 12, 2026 at 8:22 and 49 seconds, where you will see Southwest Airlines that is stalking and doing so at an entirely different location again, which is on Hope Boulevard, while I'm at the United States Postal Service, and the entity was stalking me while I'm at the Ovid Family Community Library, doing U-turns over the Ontario City Hall in the afternoon while I am capturing the entity maintaining the fake sun off at the Ovid Family Community Library, stalking while I'm on Euclid Avenue at the Grove Apartments on H Street and Euclid Avenue. This is the entity that's engaging in the wide variety of locations where Southwest Airlines is stalking. As I'm referring to this evidence, in order to include it in analysis, as I'm publishing video evidence from June 22nd, 2026, where the demons that you hear, Alyssa, Adam, the employees that are gang stalking inside of the building under the fake sun that remains, they are engaging in what is psychopathic pacing, monitoring my internet activity while they are doing so with a serial stalker who's going to prison right along with them. That's what he is going to be subject to. He is a serial. That is systematic facilitation regarding what you see him doing on video yesterday morning. And that is stalking with the entity that was maintaining plane activity, as I documented, in Upland at the Veterans Monument. Okay, because it's not a natural environment, because this is gang stalking, because these are demons in an absurd environment, which I documented, the entity is maintaining that environment, which is mutually exclusive in Ontario. But as reference, this is the demon whose image I capture, and while he is getting up, this is a form for stalking in the path. He's engaging in surveillance by sitting at the desk in front of me, stalking in the path under the fake sun, and as he gets up and walks away ups and down the stairs, the demons are stalking while the entity amplifies plane activity. And this is the same mentally ill behavior that he's engaging in under the 8 and 9 and 7 a.m. fake sun, while it is still here after what is currently 5:18 p.m. This is that entity, and while serial stalkers are gang stalking, they are prosecuting automatically the employees who are engaging in this pattern of conduct as a means of systematic facilitation, and they are sharing in mental illness. They're sharing in that malicious engagement of what is psychological torture, the perpetual sex offense, the conspiracy to commit murder, while the entity is stalking me by planes, while I'm inside of the library under what is a fake sun, and the entity is engaging in this as a part of the pattern of conduct. Just want to document that this is what is what is identified with regard to the images that I'm taking. The current time again is 5:18 p.m. The employees present are Carissa, Alyssa, Ashley. These are the mentally ill who are gang stalking while they focus on the computer. They focus on talking to the patrons who are all here in this environment, this absurdity of this environment, while the entity maintains that environment, which doesn't disturb them. It's just my communication device when I'm watching YouTube videos or when I'm publishing something that they are frustrated by, like stalking me by helicopter. The demons that work at the library show their frustration by asking me to turn down my cell phone when the entity has greater interruptions like the helicopter activity. But the entity is ignoring that and engaging in harassing me in those methods. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:19 p.m.
License 9DKA402. Stalking me on the roads and the highways just like this morning. They're going to prison and they are losing the driving privileges. This is where they commit murder, on the roads and the highways. They don't have car accidents under the fake sun. And they're stalking it further into murder. This is gang stalking. See my shadow over here? This is where the fake sun was this morning. And I am. So since they think it's funny to be documented as terrorists and to go to federal prison, we're going to identify them. And they are going to prison. This is P.O.C. These are gang stalkers. Demons. TAR 1058 with a Virginia plate, and the entity chose these defendants to be at the intersection when they're stalking by helicopter, and they're all demons desperate for my attention. EF 68 Xavier 74, 6 WXD 175, 7 UZW 840, 7 YQG 909 under the Vantage property. These are homosexuals. These are child rapists. These are the demon possessed. They don't have any purpose to live. That's why they're doing this. 9ZKX539. These are people that want to off themselves. I'll just be honest with you. They are very suicidal, and they're also suicidal because you know that they're all demons. They're spending money on me to stalk me. That's how suicidal they are. This is the P.O.C. You literally don't have a life when you get in your car on the road to stalk somebody else. License 9XYW530. Somebody else that could not care less about you. Could not care less. You got into the helicopter. You're sitting up monitoring my vagina before I left the library. You're sitting up counting my steps till I get to the intersection. Oh, she's here. You're going to prison. 7 Edward, Indiana, Barry 685. This is pathetic. Another Lily White lesbian. 7 Nancy, Wendy Xavier 935. Suicidal. Okay? Mentally ill. Martial law. They will not be driving. This is where they're murdering people. This is how they're stalking as an entity. They're not individuals. They're not even human. License 9JHE824. This is P.O.C. And this is also letting you know, everybody that I documented in Ontario police vehicles, California Highway Patrol, The entity gang stalking as the law enforcement agencies that are monitoring under the fake sun is here in the morning, they're going to prison as well. They are suicidal. They don't have anything to live for. This is the entity. It's not just the demons here. The fake sun is here in the afternoon. The fake sun is here early in the morning. P.O.C. 9LCS 900 36375 George 3 8E Xavier Wendy 761 6 Zebra Queen Wendy 185 8 RLC 059. Never seen anything more pathetic. These are people that are demons that are desperate for my attention, even if it's attention to put you in a federal case and have you put in prison. Those are demons, okay? Demons that give birth to children that are not keeping those children. This is exactly why. This is the P.O.C. It is currently where this pathetic entity is stalking. They're obsessed with literally what I put in the toilet. Just to be graphic with this is why they're stalking that intersection. They're not humans. They're pathetic. This is P.O.C. The entity that's using money in helicopters to stalk me is the entity that's going to compensate me. They're going to prison, and their family will not be receiving a dime. You're not getting a penny. All right? This is the P.O.C. License 9XTR075. This is pacing by the demons you see at the intersection in front of the library. Those demons are with children. 9MOE755. Those children are demons too. And this is gang stalking by Ovid Library, where you're seeing the entity stalking, exhibiting mental illness, stalking with any method that they have with light. The entity flies over by commercial plane, and the entity is doing so as you see at the 10 freeway. And the entity is doing so as you can also see as I go from city to city, stalking by helicopter. And you can also see the fake moon that's moving from the top of the buildings as I'm documenting. And the entity is engaged in this while they are maintaining the pattern of conduct. These are the mentally ill that are to their death, desperately stalking me as well, while you are witnessing that. So this is what an entity has been engaged in for years, doing so unbeknownst to me, doing so upon my becoming aware of it, doing so in spite of my contesting by documenting it. If somebody's documenting you stalking, that's speaking to the fact, okay, I don't want you stalking. Why are you stalking? The entity engaging in that in the face of that, and the entity doing so in the face of witnesses now, the entity doing it in the face of what is evidence proving, and also having them dealt with regard to the psychiatric issues behind the stalkers that are engaged in this. And they're doing so with regard to abandoning all manner of what is a business, a government body, their liberty, their future, those that are connected to them, their future. This is the entity that's engaged in that. The entity that's engaged in what is chasing me down by helicopters for Jay Montez to engage in vagina monitoring. He went up to that city hall to engage in the pattern of conduct. And he's doing so. The proof of that specific environment is evidence of it. The entity that is stalking me by helicopter morning, noon, and night is also evidence of it. And he is going to prison. I'm also documenting dozens and dozens of license plates who are sharing in this ongoing gang stalking by the state of California. And this is a pool of defendants that are all subject to commitment and prison. This is the P.O.C. The serial stalkers that you can see on the website, they are engaging in gang stalking by foot. This is also why they are on a playlist to be committed to be put in prison. They're also acting with that same abandon regarding their own well-being, regarding their own liberty, willing to go to prison, willing to be committed to stalk me, and you're not getting anything from it. You're already homeless outside, and you're going to be in a cell. You're going to be treated like an unstable psychiatric patient that you are. They already are, but this is the entity that's engaged in that. And remember, they're doing it with the mentally ill that are stalking me in these planes and in these helicopters, and they're on the roads and the highways, and these are a bunch of demons that together are in agreement with regard to targeting me and tracking every step I take. And she's coming to the intersection. Everybody's here. Okay, ready now. And the helicopter flies over, and they're all, this is a mentally ill and suicidal population. And this is a cry for what is intervention by a federal government that can neutralize this threat. This is a population that is a threat to themselves and each other, okay? This is the entity that does that. When you are exhibiting this lack of any purpose or willingness to do something better else, refrain from engaging in that which is not benefiting you any longer, to be so desperate for the acknowledgement of another. And I'm not just another, I'm actually human. These are creatures, as you are aware of. And by creatures, I literally mean these are demon-possessed people. These are unwell people who suffer from mental illness that I have been able to prove to you now, while you see the inexplicable and unreasonable and unhinged behavior that they engage in while they have failed in trying to act like it's not happening and that they're not doing it, and they don't know whatever it is that they thought that they were emitting. Spiritually, they're not emitting that. Spiritually, energetically, they're not. They are psychotic, and that's exactly how they look, staring at a book, gang stalking under a fake sun. You're stalking me by helicopter while I walk to the library. You're gang stalking me by helicopter as I leave the library. You're gang stalking me by helicopter as I publish evidence of you stalking. You're stalking in the path, and you're wearing a whole police uniform. This is not even, law enforcement is not a real career. Understand that. Firefighting is not a real career. It's a guise for surveillance in California. It's not even a real thing. It's a cover to engage in stalking. It's not a real industry. And this is why Jay Montez and other unhinged, mentally ill, violent sex offenders are going to be removed, far removed from anything like that where they can't threaten other people. Okay? These are people that I just want to, I'm going to be very clear because it's very clear what their activity is, and I'm not going to mince words. There is nothing that is even remotely it's not just abnormal. It's that this is beyond what humans engage in. It's not just one person that's engaged. This is a group, a population that's in agreement together to engage in it. These are the inferior who are not human. And because they are not human, they are inferior. They are envious of those who are with a purpose, who are in Christ, who do have an identity, who do have a soul, who do have an ability to do something and have a goal and a motivation outside of stalking and monitoring and stealing and defrauding and everything that demons do, which is speaking to the inability to try to steal another person's identity. And I don't literally mean stealing the identification. I mean stealing the identity. I'm stealing your identity if I can bother you and get your attention, and somehow maybe I can steal some of that essence of your person, and none of that is happening. It's beyond sad. This is very pitiful and sad. And this is why you have what are those who are serial killers, and they want to take weapons and blow their own brains out. This is really the state of these that are gang stalking. For you to bring out your whole family and all you're doing is stalking me. For you to schedule timeout. You come out of your home while I'm outside and you thought that was an accomplishment. It's not. It's the provision for me to document you stalking me and have you put in a facility, have you locked down as a society. And you will never have the same abilities that you've been engaging in and abusing. It's not a win. And as a matter of what is common sense, it's not a win when you're resorting to this. You want to be, it's like Pinocchio. You want to be a real boy, and going around and killing real boys is never going to make you a real boy. It's really pathetic, and it's beyond what is sad. But the thing about it is that it's a threat to you. And so that threat to you is what the federal government is focused on, and the federal government that's focused on that is also subject to what is a prosecution, because the federal government has failed sorely. So while I am prosecuting, the federal government is the reason for my being subject to this ongoing threat, the reason that I'm still subject to it. And for a federal government to watch an American citizen, this is like sitting back and watching for purposes of describing a crime. Okay, the entity is monitoring my vagina. The federal government are sitting back and watching that ongoing. So for purposes of, because this is what I do, I make an impact and I put things in real terms regarding what is actually happening. So while you are so-called a federal government maintaining investigation and you're merely watching someone be raped over and over and over again, and you call yourself investigating, the crime of rape has already been completed. And you're sitting there watching them being raped. And there is no part in that where that rape victim is going to thank you in the future for rescuing them after they were raped, the 72nd time? And you call that being a hero? When actually the hero is the competent investigator and prosecution and case is one that even prevents that rape. Or at least if you are, and I'm going to keep it at that. It prevents that rape from happening. It is one that is aware of it before it occurs, is catching it. This is the whole purpose of what law enforcement is about. These demons aren't engaged in law enforcement. And that's a whole ruse. They're stalkers. And these are those that want a license to engage in stalking people. And the stalkers are facilitated, the stalking system is facilitated by a court system full of stalkers because they create a whole system whereby their stalking conduct is made legitimate through what are policies and everything that is mocking what would be a legitimate criminal justice system. But the purpose is stalking. It's all an illusion because they're all monitoring spirits. So they ask questions that they know the answer to. They're a part of the crime while they're acting like they're gaining facts. And they're all doing this in the environment. And this is an entity that's engaging in what they're obsessively stalking me. You're obsessively stalking me. So you have a house, home, children, and you took time away from them. Or you brought them. As a matter of fact, I'm documenting these pathetic demons, these non-humans, bringing their whole family. This is what you see at the library. This is what you see in their vehicles on the road. They're stalking with light, a whole car full of demons. A car full of them. They're creatures, and they're envious because of what they are. They're envious because of what they can't birth anything. They can't create anything but demons. And they are engaging in this. This is their reality, and I'm the one that told everybody about it. And not only did I tell everyone believes me because I'm the one that provided evidence proving it. And I'm the one that not only am I in custody of and knowledgeable about that which is unbelievable, I have the gift to make it believable to everyone, to present it in a way where you can understand it. And demons, the subject of that exposure, are envious of that, and for that they are still stalking when they have been thoroughly defeated. That's what is chasing me down in a helicopter. And I want to be clear, everybody that is captured, every license plate, this is a pool of defendants regarding federal prison. My priority are those that engaged in any way, like Daisy, who engaged in kidnapping, criminally defaming my character. You had a conversation with the police. I sat there and I witnessed you deriving pleasure while you were talking to the gang stalking police officers, and you were doing so all of that glory as you're going to prison. So, and I know who you are. You're all going to federal prison. You engage in kidnapping, criminal facilitation, in any way, you're going to prison. And then you have what are the demons that I'm documenting on a day-to-day basis. I have stated, and this is the case, this is obvious, it is clear, axiomatic. You cannot put everybody in the state of California in prison. That's not practical, and that's not the purpose of this either. It's not realistic, because you have people that are demons, they're going straight to hell. Period. They're going to die. This is why you have those that are going to prison, and before they die in prison, they're stalking me every moment that they have outside of a cell. Okay, that's why that is the reason. The purpose is not to put and nor can you put every person in the state in prison, because every person in the state is monitoring. All of them are. Okay, so the entities engaging, and remember, every person, they make up corporations, they make up communities, they make up organizations, they make up government bodies and departments. And I said exactly what is the truth. Every single last person but me is monitoring. And the truth of that is, even while I'm exposing it, now you've got those same people that are monitoring are trying to copy off of, and you can't copy off of me. The information that you're trying to steal is about you. You are a demon. You're a monitoring spirit, and they are still trying to steal that information or use it for their own, copy whatever style or whatever it is that they're trying to escape with, steal from, which is going to get the word out regardless. And I will also be addressing, under laws that shall come into existence, those that are stealing. You're not keeping anything that you benefited by stealing, and you will be directly exposed about it, and if not prosecuted. But the entity, you're not avoiding liability under the law because you just use it. Whatever it is that you're stealing, believe me, it's seen. It is seen. And I am the person that is here to enforce the law against you. It's going to happen. So the entity, but nonetheless, these are demons. And so they're still stalking by helicopter, even though you're talking about in 18 hours, you're going to be locked up. You're getting raided. Your children are being taken from you. You're getting on the next boat steaming back to whatever village you came from on the opposite side of the globe, et cetera, et cetera. They're still doing that. These are creatures who are envious. They're not even humans. And now the jig is up. So this is what is behind that level of being such a non-winner, a non-human. Because these are animals, and they're mad because the animals wanted to look upright like humans, like me. They want to look like me. They want to be taken and perceived like me, and you're not. Just like animals, you stay on all fours, okay? You're always on all fours, and you behave and you think like those who are on all fours. And the entities engaging and cannot engage in and cannot fathom anything other than animalistic behavior. And so animals that are unkept are stalking me at the intersection of 7th Street and Euclid, stalking me at the intersection of 8th and Euclid, stalking me at the intersection of 9th and Euclid, pleading for me. And that is pleading for me to give attention Do you understand? The entity you are embarrassed. You're being humiliated while I speak raw truth about how pathetic you are. And I believe that children are the future. I'm not being funny there because that's a song too. But I do believe children are the future. And I do also believe that you have to raise them in the right way. And if that children is given over to Satan, then that future is dark. Okay? But for Christ and his plan. But you're talking about nothing is impossible in the Lord God. His will is going to happen regardless. But, and in spite of that, in the face of what Satan has planned. But when you've got a population of children and they're all demons, they're all monitoring spirits, they're all sex offenders. They're not even 8 years old and they're already monitoring vagina. And you are walking around like you're a human like me. You're not. That's why you're stalking me at the intersection. And then you are hostile. And the reality of that is you're participating in gang stalking by helicopter at the nearest intersection under a fake sun. Your whole life is pathetic. You are a loser. And this is the suicidal population that's gang stalking. And this is the type of attention that they crave. It's not getting you any ratings. It's not getting you any longevity with regard to your temporary and soon to be expiring existence. This is and I mean your career. I mean your well-being. I mean your physical ability to get around. I mean literally the fact that your heart, I'll just say that you have a pulse because I don't want to refer to a heart, but that you have a pulse. The days in which you're able to go around acting like you're a human and that you're not a demon, people don't know that you're the Nephilim. That's over. That you're a bunch of reptiles, in other words. That this is an entity that's engaged in that, conceding to that. And this is the entity that's engaged in that while I will continue to speak the truth about it. And this is what I'm capturing. So I am capturing dozens and dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of license plates, and I am publishing them. And with regard to what happens to those that are documented, it is a matter of evidence with regard to those who are prioritized for prison because that's where they are going. And this is, again, the type of attention that they want. And the attention that you're getting is the whole world is learning what your fate is. You are subject to federal prison where I document you. It's already proven that the entire state of California is a sex offender. And it is unprecedented. It has yet to be established what you shall be compensated when a government, an entire state, a U.S. government keeps your genitalia under surveillance like the non-humans that are gang stalking me. Okay, the entity is doing so while they are aware of that and they are admitting that they don't have a purpose, that they're not humans, that they're not even sane while they engage in that. Understand the level of abandonment of their own identities, their own fake identities nonetheless. That is a threat to you. That's a population that will blow their own brains out just to get you to look at them. Will you look at me now? Will you care now? I'm over here. I'm stalking you. Do you care? That's how pathetic they are. It has kids. It's been able to steal the idea that they're actually some sort of service or benefit or asset to society. They're not. And they're being stripped from every area where they are a threat. This is why you're stalking me while you're literally at home. This is why you're stalking me when you're in a car. You're stalking when you're on the sidewalk. You're stalking in every way because you are not humans. It's an infestation of roaches that have occupied human vessels. It's an infestation and it's being raided. Okay, this is that P.O.C. and this is what I am subject to. I am the only person and I'm surrounded by creatures who are obsessed with me. And it is not a compliment. But it is a reflection of what is wrong with them. It's a diseased population, literally and spiritually. It's a diseased population that are desperate for acknowledgement, even when that acknowledgement is a federal case. So I accumulated more names, identities that are subject to federal prison. That's what that is about, okay? This is that P.O.C. This is the entity that is engaging in that, and you have multi-million-dollar corporations that admit to the worthlessness of what they are, what they've created, and the superiority of who I am. I'm not complimenting myself. There is no way I would spend millions of dollars on stalking another person. I would never do that. I have things to do. But the entity's engaging in this pattern of conduct and this is letting you know that this is the Nephilim. That's what this is about. You are learning this is beyond a prosecution. This is beyond the incompetence of the federal government. While I remain subject to it, I'm going to prosecute the so-called legitimate federal government. While I'm subject to this is an entity that's engaging in what is trying to kill me and then engaging in what is backtracking. Okay. No. We are on the wrong side and there's a price to pay for that. The entity's engaging in this pattern of conduct and that pattern of conduct is showing you that they are in fact the demon possessed, and the demon possessed have conceded that. And what you need to pay attention to while the demon possessed are wearing police uniforms and they're working in all areas of society, while they are openly showing you that they are unhinged mentally ill stalkers and violent sex offenders who give birth to the same. That's what you are mindful of. That's what you are not going to forget. You will not forget that. They do not have a race. So you are not blinded, you're not deceived by somebody that's driving a Pinto versus somebody that's driving a Land Rover. And I'm not like a Land Rover is the peak of having made it, but I'm just giving you the vastness between somebody that's driving a Pinto. They may not have any money or disposable income versus, and none of these demons are going to when I'm done with them, by the way. But the entities engaging in this conduct, and it's not based on income, they're all creatures. They are so pathetic, they hide behind identities. And if they don't have money to create a false identity, they are still hiding behind a false identity because they're demons that then use what is a poor, low vibrational lifestyle. All right. They're proud thugs. All right. They're proud whores. They're proud thieves. Whatever it is that they are engaging in with regard to maintaining a false fake identity, and all they all are demons who do not have a race and income bracket. They don't have a political party. They do not have any sort of separation or distinction. And you need to understand that. And I've proven that while you're looking at a population stalking me so desperately. You don't even care about your dog. You're outside stalking me, but yet you want to have a boyfriend. That boyfriend is a demon, and he's obsessed with me too. All right. While you are engaging in fornication, headed to the pit of hell. If you don't repent, you are still thinking about me in those disgusting, intimate moments that you creatures have together. That's how obsessed they are with me. They're obsessed with my genitalia. They're obsessed with what I'm doing in the bathroom, not consumed with their own hygiene, not consumed with the state of whatever goes on with the genitalia of non-humans. It's disgusting. All right. But this is the entity that's engaging in that. And they're doing so because of what they inherently are, which are lower beings. And stalking me is confirming that. If this were not true, you wouldn't spend so much time and resources and energy on it. You wouldn't be so desperate for my acknowledgement. And you would be able to tell the difference between being acknowledged, being given attention, and being prosecuted. A federal prosecutor is giving you attention too in the courtroom, where they're reading out your charges, and the judge is giving you attention as well in the courtroom when they're asking you how you plead. You're being given attention in the courtroom when a jury is speaking to whether they find you guilty or not. You're being given attention when they're reciting to you whether you're getting capital punishment in a courtroom. This is after you've been found guilty and you've been convicted in court. Nobody is giving you any acknowledgement. This is pathetic, and you need to understand, you witnesses, that this is relevant to what are the Nephilim. And this is the level of obsession of non-humans. They're going to be ripped from airline companies and airports and law enforcement and the medical field, all the areas in society. They don't have a purpose, and they could be purposeless by themselves in martial law, coupled all together. So we know where the terrorists are. We know what they're doing. We know where they're at, and they cannot under any circumstances inconspicuously violate your genitalia and stalk you obsessively and plot on harming you. They can't use the law in order to do so as a demon. The Nephilim are sitting on the bench, or they're working in some hospital, and gang stalking is unknown. All of that is over. It's all over. This is an entity that's engaging in it. And as the entity has lost, demons have conceded that defeat. This is embarrassment to the kingdom of darkness. I don't call it a kingdom, though. This is to the hell-bound hut of all these demons, all the minions. This is an embarrassment. This is an advertisement for losing and the need for Christ Jesus. You want to know why they lost so bad? Because they serve Satan. Satan does not have any power, but that which you do not know, you possess, and you only possess it not in tarot, not in sage, not in good thinking, and not in affirmations, not in reading the word of God, but not really believing it and just proclaiming it. But you're talking about living it out. Repenting of your sins and walking with the Lord God, who died and rose from the grave to be your substitute, a sacrifice for your sins. This is why these who are the living dead lost so bad, and they're losing every moment that they're still stalking me. And in a courtroom, it's going to be recited corporations that are no longer going to exist, and they're going to give me every dime before they cease to exist. Land that belongs to me and other parts of the world that I haven't even been to, and I've traveled the world. But it's mine. And offing yourself before that happens in court, that's not going to change the reality. These are not humans, though. These are not rational beings. This is the inability to reason. And this is understanding. I have not caused anything other than brought all this to the surface. This has been the case. Jay Montez has been a suicidal and a homicidal. Understand, that's both. He's a homicidal and suicidal maniac. This has been the case. He acts it out by stalking me and maintaining a calm demeanor outwardly. You see all of the signs, all of the symptoms all around him while I prosecuted him in a video today. Okay. And I also prosecuted him while the entity stalked me by helicopter, chasing me down, flying over the top of my head. That ridiculous light activity of all those demons stalking me together, that ongoing hysteria around me. That's the mania that is hidden inside of, which is not hidden. It's brought out because Jay Montez remains a part of that same entity. That's exactly what is inside of him. And it is my job to make sure you see it. And as clearly as you see that video, he is going to prison for it. Nothing is hidden. The demons have been stripped of that. They cannot hide anymore. There's never been any magic. You've been given the ability, the leash to engage in so much. And you are never to engage in that against a child of God. That was never the case. When you are engaging what is crossing the line, regardless of the fact that you see them conceding to their mental illness, conceding to their guilt, there's not going to be a controversy in any courtroom. There's no controversy in any courtroom. There's no question whether I'm being targeted. There's no question whether this entity was in court behind my back without me being invited, without me being present, which is, I want to be clear, unlawful there is no excuse for it under the law. There is no excuse for it. It's not a matter of, well, we thought this, and because at the time there was a conservator. No, there is no explanation under any circumstances. These are the things that the federal government cannot contend with. I will prosecute you, even if you call yourself readjusting and recalibrating and then investigating on the right side of the law, if you will. I don't care. I'm not here for teammates. If I had teammates, it wouldn't be 8 years in. This is the Lord Jesus' message. He is the one that's exposing the enemy. And he chose the one, myself, in order to speak the truth. Everyone else is impressionable for money, for sex. Whatever it is that Satan was able to bamboozle you with, you were easy. The entity's engaging in this conduct, and it is my job to make sure that you can see the psychopath that is a threat to the public, going by the name Jay Montez with the Ontario Police Department, stalking me at a government building and all of that environment and the ongoing pattern of conduct before he stalks me at the city hall and after he stalked me at the city hall, with a population of those who are the Nephilim, not humans, and possible light activity all over the place, stalking while you're on the roads and the highways. That's the same population that commits murder on the roads and the highways. It's the Nephilim that maintains a fraudulent insurance system where they make money off of sacrificing other people and sacrificing each other. This is what I'm engaging in. This is what I'm exposing. While it was by design. And this is no thanks to demons like Jason Fields, incompetent actors like the federal government that permitted any American citizen to be subject to this. And that is just something that I'm not going to change on. I'm not going to pivot on that. And this is the reality because I'm holding myself to the same standard. You're talking about looking at this and what is it that enabled you to permit an American citizen where it's your job? You're supposed to be doing what I'm doing. This is your job. And what is it that precluded you from being able to do that? Okay, that's the embarrassing part. That's the part that you don't want to speak out about. Okay, but this is an entity that's engaging in that. And that incompetence is the reason why I have to engage in what is taking this into my own hands and prosecuting. But there is a day and a time and a price for justice. Justice that I'm going to receive and justice that they are going to experience. Okay, and it's not going to manifest in the form of some sort of reconciliation with somebody that had anything to do with this. I do not care. I keep repeating it, and it's not going to happen. And you trying to put it in terms of, oh, that's God's will. No, it is not God's will. It was God's will for me to get away from you, and you're going to stay away from me. The fact that I am in this position is the evidence to you, because you're clearly delusional, that you are not my husband. And that is never going to happen. I'm never going to look at you in your face and acknowledge you under any other circumstance. You are incompetent if you want to call yourself a federal official, but I believe that these terms mean something. There is what I've shown an outright bankruptcy regarding those that are engaging in doing justice and are not compromising. So even though you see these busts and you see justice, you see them engaging what is investigating, and there are some people that are going to prison. Yeah, with this larger system, I'm exposing the entirety of a system. Okay, you're talking about LAPD that does a bust for child trafficking in downtown LA. They knew it was there the whole time. They just pick. They're aware of all they're monitoring spirits, so they pick one to keep themselves employed. Like I said, they sacrifice these demons. They're disposable. They pick one, anyone, and we're going to prosecute you today. We need another case. This is all they're doing. They're not investigating anything. These are demons. They're disposable. And they made themselves that way. They're not disposable in Christ. Christ died for them. But they're the one that chose death. That's them. That's their future. That's their decision. But the one that they follow doesn't think twice about tossing them to the side. Okay? And the entity, I want to be clear, they're engaged in targeting me, and they're doing so while I am maintaining a record of it. Have you ever heard of that type of concession in the United States of America? It's not a fable that an American citizen is being stalked by helicopters. What type of person must that be? Ask the creatures. You're going to have to interview them in medical and facilities because they're not going to be free. But you would talk to the creatures about the type of person that would drive you to do that. What is it? Wow. What would cause you to, the thought and then the action and then all of the cooperative parts that provide that circumstance for you to use a whole helicopter, and you do that systematically just for one person? That's fascinating. It says a lot about you, all of them, and it says something about me. And also, I'm documenting it. Oh, absolutely, there will be no more departments. You name a department, every department is gang stalking. There will be no more departments. They're not even real industries. They're not real careers. Firefighting, they're engaged in surveillance. They're not real firefighters. Policing, it's not real. It's the guys for surveillance. They're stalkers. They've discovered a means whereby they are engaging in stalking. And this is not new. This is what they're doing way in the beginning of time, where racism was built into. That was the reason why they created these forms of what we now refer to as the executive branch, the police at the local level. It's a corrupt executive branch, but this is the roots of the whole purpose for this system being created. It was not to maintain peace and order. It was to maintain this system of what is bullying those and enforcing a bullying system. And that hasn't changed. It's just become more sophisticated. And by sophisticated, I mean more intricate, because it's clearly not sophisticated. You're talking about animalistic barbarism, stalking me in a helicopter. And then that ridiculous light activity. They're animals. They are animals. That's why I show you their faces. Look at them. Look at the lily white demon. She's a lesbian. She's obsessed with this black woman's vagina. And I put it in those terms so that you understand that these are shallow, superficial shells. They're demons. They're creatures. That creature is cloaking itself in the shell of a white woman. She's obsessed with me. She's a demon. She's the demon that's wearing the police uniform, the demon that's stalking in the helicopter, the demons that are stalking with the possible light. This is an entity. The multiplicity of faces, same pattern of conduct. I show you the non-English speaking minions. They know exactly who I am. In fact, they monitor and gang stalk pursuant to what they know is about to be published. If I'm talking about not talking about Asian people, but if Asian people are captured in my documentation, you'll have Asian people speaking a foreign language, monitoring my vagina in the bathroom that day. That's exactly what they did yesterday. Okay, this is an illusion. Well, oh, no speak English. Oh, yeah, they do. Those demons know exactly who you are. They're monitoring you. All right, this is the entity that's engaging in that sort of conduct, and it's all worship. It's all worship, and it speaks to the deity. This isn't even about me. Understand, this speaks to the deity of Christ. Master, Savior, Lord of all. They worship him. They worship him. That is speaking. I want to be clear. The demons are witnesses. They thought that they were going, no, you're not sacrificing any. You're sacrificing yourself. And in your sacrifice that everybody is witnessing, you are testifying to the deity, to the power, to the magnificence of the Lord God Almighty. His name is Christ Jesus. They're testifying to him. The majesty of his power. That's what this is about. That's how you have spending millions of dollars on stalking one person in a helicopter. That's so inexplicable. The demons that are engaging in it and that are in authority over those engaging in it. Meaning, like I referred to the police chief, not only are the police officers gang stalking, but the police chief is going to prison. The leader of those that are engaging in it. They're all losing a job. They're all being prosecuted. The whole demonic clan, all of them. That's so inexplicable. Who literally in the pit of hell thought of that? Because you're all fired. You're all fired. That's psychotic. It is an act of worship by the mentally ill. That's what you need to understand. All right, and under these circumstances where the demon-possessed cannot do anything but admit that they bow before the name of Christ, the one whom I serve, all right, as they all admit that, this is an entity that can't do anything but that. Understand that this isn't about them. They don't have any control. They're not making a decision to engage in. They don't have anything else. What else are you going to do? Sit around twiddling your thumbs, waiting for the feds to kick your door in? And wake up you and your gay lover and you and your wife and your kids, right? And put your dog outside? No, you want to do that? You don't want to do that. You'd rather them know beyond a reasonable doubt already that you're guilty, which they do know. They already know that you're guilty, and they know where you live. They know where you work. They're watching you, watching me. You're all of your everything. You're under surveillance while you're surveilling me, and while you're stalking and monitoring and terrorizing. Everybody knows that the demon possession is real. Everybody knows that Satan is real. Everybody knows that demonic activity is real, and that is speaking to the reality of Christ Jesus, who is superior over all. Because why are you stalking little old me, who is speaking the truth from the beginning? Why is it that you want to be me? What? I'm not, but I am. And I always was, because he is. And he says that I am. And I believe him. Just like he told me that you're a demon. And I believe him. That's why I'm winning, by the way. That's why I won, rather. Sorry. I've been put in a place of victory. And that's what an entity is also envious about. And because they are mentally ill in their minds, while they sit up angry about their inability to procreate anything successfully, they give birth to creatures who behave like creatures, who then create more creatures that are engaging in this embarrassing conduct that the demons never wanted to be known, let alone their identity. While they contemplate that and take their envious animosity out on me by stalking, you're going to pay me for it. I can't lose here. Because this is, you're talking about spiritual battle. I don't fight. The Lord fights my battles. You lost when I knew what was happening and I just started my case. You already lost. You're sitting up and plotting and lying and defrauding, and you're doing all this stuff and ritualing and whatever and I made up a word that I did that on purpose because I'm mocking. You engaged in gay sex. You actually bent over for other guys and girls, and you got bloody kneecaps, and you got all type of situations around your lip, and contracted all manner of STDs, and acquired quite the reputation. And while you're not intelligent enough to actually be the one that's created my content, you are thoughtful. But it's not a matter of intellect. Your thoughts are one that you're the THOT, that you are thoughtful people, but you are not thoughtful with regard to any capability regarding this intellectual property that is also prosecuting you. That was a reference to the vernacular, by the way. That was a little funny. These are whores, in other words. The entities engaging in this conduct, and they are, under all circumstances, proving themselves to be inferior. And that's what this is about. The defeat of Satan himself. If you did not know what this is about, the entity would love to distract from. Everybody already knows that you're into child trafficking. Everybody already knows that you're engaged in child rape. Everybody knows that you're into and are engaged in what is a syndicate internationally, kidnapping children and sending them around the globe, consuming their body parts, consuming their bodily fluids, child porn, all manner of the sickness of those that are stalking me in helicopters, and maintaining a whole society of demons that are all engaging in what it's acting like they're human and failing at acting like they're not stalking. The jig is up. Everybody knows what you're all into. You're all gang stalking because you all are engaged in violating the genitalia of children. Okay? Including your own. And you do that to make sure that they're demons like you and they grow up to gang stalk just like you. It's a part of your demonic tradition, raping your own children. The entities engaging in this conduct, while they do so with the blessing of the government's engaged in child trafficking. There's no criminal activity that's going on that the government that's gang stalking me doesn't know about. Or have you not gathered this together yet? I've shown it to you. It's right in front of your face. The so-called military, you know why they acquire these positions in the military? They are leading in child trafficking across the globe. They're the ones that are engaged in organized killing. And they call it going to represent America's interests abroad. They go on killing missions. Targeting individuals across the globe, and the United States invades other parts of the world that may be classified or unclassified. It's not going to be put in these raw terms. It'll be described as something else in America's interests. With the president's knowledge, It's the United States' interest to engage in murdering those that are across the globe that threaten the hut of the hellbound, because this is no kingdom. This is not no kingdom of darkness. They're in darkness, but this is not a kingdom. This is embarrassing. All right, so you have people that are coming to Christ because Satan is shown to be so pathetic. By any means, whatever gets them into the kingdom, whatever gets you saved, by any means, praise the Lord. All right, so the entity is engaging in this, and this is the entity that's engaging in this conduct. Everybody already knows that. You've been fully exposed, and it's going to be all over the news. In fact, the reason why you're still stalking as of August 25th, 2026 is because you're psychotic. And you're psychotic, that part of your psychosis is your impulse, your desire, your addiction to raping children. Right? You like to rape little kids. You like to rape little gifted kids. That's what you like to do. That's the truth. And you call yourself being a part of the U.S., the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, the demons you see under the fake sun, the demons you see spitting out light, whatever they call themselves doing, embarrassing themselves. You're literally going to be in a courtroom and people are going to look at your faces and you think they're not going to be like nauseated, knowing that you're not even human. The evidence is on the internet for everybody to peruse freely at their will. Look at it. Take a good look at it, because they're demons. And the demons, the Nephilim, are going to be sitting in court. And I mean, it will literally be a systematic prosecution. You're talking about marching you all in because you're catching all of this case. I identified you. This is the prosecution of a government, but I'm going to the extent to make sure I've identified many of the Nephilim personally, because I'm going to make sure that I leave my mark on you. I want to make sure that everybody knows who you are. I want to make sure that everybody understands what's wrong with you and what you did and what that tells you about what's wrong with you. And you are a walking, talking advertisement for the kingdom of God because you have been obliterated. You've been decimated. Look it up. Look those words up. Okay? You've been utterly destroyed. You've been humiliated. While you're on the internet giving false narratives about what happened when nobody even asked you about what happened anyway, and you don't know what happened. You're in darkness. You're a fool. If you knew what was going to happen, you would have been able to avoid it. You're a demon. You are following from behind. You don't lead anything. All right? You are the tail. You are not the head. You are the tail. And that's what the inferior do. This is the inevitable regarding the entity that's engaged in that. So I want to be clear. I'm going to document what is a wealth of evidence regarding identifying those that are terrorizing. And this is an inferior population. So you're talking about enraged demons, the Nephilim, that call themselves attacking while they're stalking at an interstate. They're showing everybody that they're animals. And that's going to be very, very regretful in the future when there's legislation that's going to be created to make sure that the animals are separated from the rest of society. It's going to be very scary when you are treated like the animals that you displayed yourself as, when this is constitutional legislation is created to make sure that the threat that you have proven yourself to be as a public entity and as a people, the people of the state under the Constitution, and you are treated as that which I gave you the opportunity to demonstrate that you are, because it's not enough that I tell them, oh no, I want you to demonstrate it. And that's what you've been doing. You are tools. And you speak to the truth. As you defame my character, you worship me. And your actions betray you, because if I was what it is that you're, and by the way, while you're talking about me, you're worshiping me. But even while you're talking about me in a negative manner, all of that failed spell work is betrayed by your own actions. Because if I was what it is that you would like people to think that you actually think about me, and trying to hide the fact that you worship me, that you worship my image, that you worship my personality, my aura, whatever it is that comes from me, everything about me, tangible and intangible, you betray yourself by your own actions. Because if all that was true, then you wouldn't be spending so, you're talking about the government that's speaking to, you're a lie. She's obviously extraordinary, because the government wouldn't be spending millions of dollars on following her around in helicopters. What do you say to that? Because you certainly can't deny it. As being one that's mentally ill, they just act like, I don't know. They act like it's not happening. And the more you do that, the more people are going to fill up mental institutions. Please keep doing that. Please continue that. Let's keep doing that. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 8:47 p.m. This is an entity that set up and listened to my podcast. This is an entity that set up and looked at all the videos, all the evidence that was published online. This is the entity that set up steaming, while they are, again, a bunch of creatures that are already lost. You're talking about those that are in the in law enforcement, even though they're not engaged in law enforcement, but they're in law enforcement, and they know that they're out of a job. They know that they're not going to be providing for anybody because you're not. It's my job to make sure that you feel that for the rest of your life because you thought that you were going to take mine. There's a consequence for that. You are done with this field and everyone's going to know why. And you are just being made an example because everyone is going to suffer that analogous type of result. All right. That's the entity that is fearful. That's fear. That's crying tears. That's tears. Those are the reptiles, the child rapists that call themselves Ontario police. That's Jay Montez, who's going to prison. You saw his facial expression. You saw his mental illness as it was on the floor beside him in that engineer light. You saw his obsession with me while he was walking in front of me as I got out of the bathroom, monitoring my vagina. He's tracking my steps. He's obsessed with me. And they engage in what is that kind of, you saw all of that through evidence today. You're not sounding sirens. Those are monitoring spirits. Monitoring spirits are inferior and they are inherently defeated. And that includes Jay Montez. Jay Montez is going to prison and Jay Montez knows he's going to prison. And so those that are suicidal like Jay Montez will come and conspicuously engage in criminal activity for which laws are going to be created to deal with such terrorists. And you should be, because Jay Montez is showing you that he's a threat to himself and other people. That's essentially Jay Montez stalking with engaging in criminal summoning. And that's because Jay Montez is petrified. And he should be. He should be. What you are looking at, what you are witnessing is not bravado. It's not, what are you doing? What part of a plan? What is your point? And coming around and with the helicopter, it is literally something that is, it's beyond old and overused. And you certainly have, it's been made a joke while I have thousands of that on the internet about what you're doing. What do you think is about to happen to a so-called Ontario Police Department? I should get you the picture of Derek Williams, Mike Lorenz, and the current demon, the current sex offender, Lopez, that's engaging what is gang stalking as a chief gang stalker over that department. Because they're all being federally prosecuted. And there will be no department. The entities engage in this, and they're doing so as those that are looking forward. Because it's a bleak future. I'm prosecuting you, and it's not, I told you years ago, I'm taking that uniform, I'm taking that position. You will not have any career in that. You will not even be able to be a security guard at Chuck E. Cheese. You will be nowhere near any weapons. You have demonstrated thoroughly how unstable and how much of a threat you are to other people, including yourself. This is not an exaggeration. This is what justice looks like when you are targeting as a whole enterprise. It's not just the Ontario Police, it's every police department in the state of California. As I've shown you, as I go from city to city, they all engage in the same P.O.C. And as a result, a federal result, you do understand what's coming. There's no sirens that you can sound that's going to stop that. It can't help your sick mind, and it's not going to help these consequences. Spell that one. All right, we don't have time to wait for that. But moving on, the entities engaging in that sort of conduct while they have already lost. This is an advertisement for those that are not in Christ. They're pathetic on the internet. They're giving false narratives about what's happening. And this is because this is what Satan is. He is desperate. So when he doesn't win, then he'll lie about losing. This is how pathetic the entity is. This is Satan, though. Understand that. Satan wants you in hell with him. And there are many that are going. Those are the ones that are still stalking in helicopters. This is not just criminal activity. These are hellbound, highly deranged actors that are fully possessed by the devil. And they've engaged in egregious and psychotic things against people that many of whom you will not ever learn about. But this is why they are facing justice at this time. And some of it you will learn about it. You will learn about it. But this is an entity. This is why you would engage in that. And there is no person that's engaged in anything but that. It doesn't matter how much they keep their back, how they try to keep their head down, how they try to cover up their face, how they try to hide behind a stroller and babies and dogs and puppies. This is an entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. The entire population. This is the Nephilim. Satan has been here. Okay? There's no disguise anymore. And guess what? What you need to know, what they are telling you, they are testifying to the deity of Christ. While they want to lie about who he is, that he's not God and the Bible isn't real and Christian, that's not, Jesus isn't God and that's not the only way to heaven and heaven isn't real and the devil isn't real. And you're talking about what is any way to heaven. This is what the Nephilim who are monitoring you want you to think. While they are simultaneously testifying to the majesty, the power of Christ, while they are gang stalking one that they know very well, is able to and has accomplished exposing them for the demons, the inferior entity that they are.
Okay, that's the reality. That's their true testimony regarding the majesty, the power of God. And his name is Christ Jesus, not to be mistaken with any other false God. There is no other God. You're talking about lowercase g. That's idolatry. You make your own gods, which you absolutely do. You make your own God. That's called idolatry. And those that practice such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. You're going to burn in hell with these psychos. That's what you're looking forward to. I'm not going to mince words. These are miserable, demon-possessed people. They're going to burn in hell. That's where you're headed, to where the people, demons, creatures like this are going, if you do not repent. And you have every reason to. Satan that's been trying to sell you an advertisement that like it's sexy to be a demon, it's sexy to live in sin, it's sexy to be wicked. No, it's not. It's sexy to not have STDs and have situations all over your face, and to not engage in gross things like having sex with kids so that you can get a record deal and then go platinum, only to die 15 years later because your contract with the devil ended. Right? You have to pay with your life. That's weird, and it's absurdly desperate, and it's so unnecessary. When you could walk with the Lord God and fulfill what is his purpose, because you were all here for a purpose. And it's not to sit around monitoring other people's vaginas. Serving Satan is something that will demoralize you, humiliate you, consciously and unconsciously. All right, this is the P.O.C. You're talking about the low of lows. You're outside homeless, and that's not because you're a child of God that's being targeted. You're outside homeless because you're a lowlife, drug addict, stalker, criminal, and the entity that you're gang stalking with is not helping you either. And even if they were, it's not worth going to hell for. That's not genuine. They'll take your life in a second. So you're out here for funsies, engaging in what is a pathetic existence. The Lord God planned so much more for you. Don't go out like these losers, these non-winners, these non-humans. That's not what you're here for, and that's not what the Lord God has intended for those that come after you. And for everybody's benefit, I don't want any more demons born. I really don't. And I'm sorry, but not sorry, because I'm actually very serious. Giving birth to more demons is just like, it literally is a threat to national security. And that's what the Nephilim have been doing. Filling the population up with creatures. The entity engages in experimentation with these demons, and then they're giving birth, procreating. And then you don't know that we're surrounded by creatures. We're surrounded by them. And their job is literally just to monitor and influence you. Okay? And they do not have any purpose. This is why they are stalking so desperately, so absurdly. And admitting to it. You have no purpose. Okay. That's a whole other level of weird. You don't even act like you have your own business to tend to. And then you're mad because I tell you the truth. Because you're a lesbian. And you're an unattractive one. Even if I did swing, though, it would never be you. Okay? Never. This is an entity that is entirely pathetic in every regard. Those are not people. They have far deviated from what they were created for, what God made you for. You're talking about Satan that controls their vessel. Satan who hates you. Understand that he hates you who are made in the image of God. We are not all God's children. That's not true. That's a lie out of hell, talking about you're children of God. No. His children, those that belong to him, those who follow him, are children of God. You can be adopted into the family of God. Those that walk with him are holy like he is holy. That doesn't mean perfect. This is why Christ died. This is why literally God had to die for our sins. But in him, you are perfected. He doesn't see your filthy sin. He sees his son that you accept by faith. That's the only way in. There's nothing that you have to offer. And when you do something else other than Christ, Satan hates you who are made in the image of God. You are made in his image. These demon-possessed people, you're talking about the vessel, they're made in the image of God. They are not children of God. These are children of the devil. But Satan hates you because you're made in the image of God. This is why he's humiliating them. They are being humiliated, and they don't understand to the degree that they are being humiliated. This is what Satan's job is. To ruin literally the identity, the core, the principal purpose for that which God created you when you serve him. They're not just being prosecuted. They're not just being exposed as demons. They are being humiliated as those that have been brought to a spectacle regarding being made in the image of God. And that's not any sort of shame on God. That is just a part of what is being destroyed by the devil.
It is a matter of being humiliated. And it's something that even demons are proud of, and that's because they're fools. They're being possessed by spirits, where they are glorifying in their wickedness. They're glorifying in what is being a loser. You're stalking me by helicopter and you're going to prison, and I'm going to make sure that your wife and your kids are going to feel the consequences. And I'm not evil. I'm just thorough. That's justice. That's judgment. You should have been thinking about your wife and kids before you started gang stalking me. And that's not a victory. That's not a win. That's somebody that's so far deranged, so unhinged, and they're humiliating themselves. You all are looking at them on the internet. What are you doing? What are you doing at this point? What are we actually accomplishing here? Like, what is going on? They couldn't tell you if they had any clue. They're demons. Satan is driving that psychotic mind. That's what's going to be locked up, okay? And it makes up a whole population. And that is the truth. I have undertaken the responsibility of showing you what the demon possessed try to hide from you. That is the case with every single last one of them. No matter how friendly they are behaving, no matter how composed they try to seem, no matter the demeanor that they try to maintain, because that's not how you're addressing it anyway. Being nice, I hope you know that means absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing about the core of who that person is and what they're engaging in. Does the fake sun being over anybody's head, does that change? Does it go away if the entity is laughing? Does the fake sun, does it go away, or is it less bright or less, vibrant, hovering over the building? If you're frowning, does it change? Does the environment change? Does the helicopter activity change when I start laughing? Actually, it does. Because they don't get the impact that they want. But the entities engaging, my point is, nothing about their outward demeanor is controlling whether or not you can discern demonic spirits. And that's what the P.O.C. provides. Satan has been in denial. They're inferior creatures. You don't control that. The spirit of discernment is an inherently superior spiritual gift. There is no spiritual gift by Satan, which you acquire through gay anal sex, that is even contending with the spiritual gifts given by the Holy Spirit. God himself, who conquered death and hell and the grave. Who do you think you are? You're delusional to think that your facial expression is going to deter the ability to discern a demonic spirit or sounding sirens. That's all they're doing. Nobody's distracted. They know that demons are stalking in fire trucks. That's exactly what's going to pay me. Michael GERKEN is out of a job and out of a career. And he's also out of his mind. He's going to be subject to what are mental examinations, but that's not deterring what is discernment of demonic spirits. And that's all that they're doing. And they're scared to death. That's why. Understand what is actually happening. While the so-called kingdom of darkness has been openly shamed. Openly shamed. And this dragging of demons is for your benefit. They're stalking me today in fire trucks. That says a lot about the person that's prosecuting you for that. You're the one that's embarrassed that you're in a whole fire truck, because it says a lot like, oh, okay, what are you doing with your life to be engaged in that? So you don't even have a real job. You just get into the fire truck to stalk Erica? Yes, that's absolutely what they're doing. That's it. That is it. The mayor's fired, the city council is fired, the police department is fired, the fire department is fired, the so-called EMTs, the ambulance services, you don't even need that, you're fired. All of it. It's all a ruse. It's all a joke. It's all a game. It's all pathetic. Organized stalking. It's the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in that. So I want to be clear. I'm documenting by license plate a wealth of evidence, speaking to the city of Ontario and the city of Upland. Understand that this is documentation, this is evidence, in other words, presented to prosecute under federal law the state of California. Okay, this is the entire state of California. They're on the roads and the highways, gang stalking, engaging in federal stalking, federal law, Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. The entities utilizing aircrafts, interstate commerce, while the entities engaging in federal stalking, monitoring my devices, criminal stalking by the government, those that are in law enforcement, those that are in the military, doing so as a population which shall be recognized under federal law as another means of the government to engage in criminal activity. Just like a police officer is the function of the government, a population that's engaging in criminal activity is a function of the government. While the system of gang stalking is hereby proven, and it shall be recognized and addressed and acknowledged in all areas of the law. This is the P.O.C. All right, and so that's what I am going to expose. And this is speaking to not only identifying, because I'm into exposing and humiliating demons. Not only is it identifying, but it's identifying and naming terrorists. I want you to know the names of Satan. I want you to know the identity of Satan. I want you to see them engaging in that conduct as they admit to worshiping me and stalking me. Not only that, there are a pool of defendants who are subject to prison. And so you're talking about at sentencing, any of them are subject to prison. Well, while it may not be all of them, you're talking about any of them that are selected are subject to federal prison. Any of them. That's why I also document. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:03 p.m. Gang stalking law school, gang stalking city hall, gang stalking library. This is Ovid Library. The gang stalking apartment complexes where the people that stayed are monitoring as well. This is a population that's stalking me by helicopter, engaging in terrorism and psychological torture, stalking me, doing so on a nightly basis, doing so while I am present in Upland, California at 7th Street in Euclid, doing so while I am documenting the fact that they're stalking by helicopter. This is more for the record, 11:13 p.m. And this is relevant because the entity is listening to the evidence against itself and then engaging in more criminal activity, which is terrorism in the U.S. This is legally relevant. It's 11:13 p.m. This is P.O.C.